Johnny C live on Real Radio.
Yeah, great to have you with us every Saturday morning, including this particular one this morning. 2 hours of infotainment is what we're going to offer you up, and it's toll-free, 877-927-6969. If you'd like to be a part of the program with your questions, comments, concerns in the world of real estate, man, it is good to be back on the radio. I feel like it's been an eternity since I've been sitting in this chair. 2 hours of infotainment is what we offer you up. Again, Florida Talk Real Estate is it.com. I'm looking at my producer extraordinaire over there. If you dial that toll-free number, that's going to be the first voice you hear. The melodious tones of our producer extraordinaire, Jimothy. Dude, I feel like I haven't seen you in months. How are you, my friend?
It's been about a month. Good to see you, buddy. How are you, man?
Man, I'm good. It's good to see you. It's great to have the whole crew gathered here. I am your buddy, your pal, Johnny C, your air traffic control. Let's get your starting lineup on a Saturday morning. Oh, I also should tell you that we are actually live streaming. It's been a minute since we've done this. I see you out there, 92.1, 101.7. Thanks for being with us on your free download, your iHeartRadio app. And we are back live streaming on a Saturday. Find us on Florida Talk Real Estate's Facebook page. On YouTube, that's Florida Talk Real Estate LLC. I believe we're streaming there as well. Great to have you along. Of course, if you're not there with us yet, you can always join in at any portion of the program and see my guy over here, the mortgage guy from the mortgage firm, Mike Rauch. Good to see you, my friend.
Good morning. Yeah, it has been a little bit.
You are well lit, too, by the way.
Am I?
Yeah.
Does it look good? I mean, is it good? Is it bad?
No, it looks good, but
okay.
You are like spot
Let's
lit.
let the people tell us.
And the lighting is nice, too.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's some rum drinks in the morning, huh? I had about 5.
Little day drinking.
Little splashy splash into coffee.
I'll be doing that about 2:30.
Nice.
Yeah, it's funny how time you came in and you asked me something that was 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what are you talking about?
Right.
I'm like, oh, shit, I haven't seen you.
Wait, there. Jimothy dumped it.
Got it.
Wow, sorry.
You know how long it's been since we've been on the radio?
Wow, that's how long.
Mike Rauch curses in the first 3 minutes.
Actually, he dropped an S-bomb last week, too.
No, I didn't.
Yeah.
No, I didn't.
Yeah,
really?
did. Yeah.
Oh, Jesus.
You've been dumping us?
It's the old Irish coffee. What's doing?
I was going to say, it's because you're so lit, man. The tongue just gets loose. It's good to see you, my friend. Always a pleasure. But that's not too bright on your eye holes? You're doing good?
No, it's fine. I'll be all right.
All right.
The is the S word really is one of those still you can't do?
Sure.
So I
hear it on TV. I feel
we
like
still have the Deadly 7.
All right. So the answer is yes.
Yeah.
But it's also no.
Okay.
It's all about who bitches and complains. I mean, that's just the facts. And if the FCC choose to press the gas on it, if they get enough complaints.
Well, we don't want to risk it.
There is such a thing as a what do they call that? Man, I'm totally
Paola.
Yeah, well,
there is that.
That exists too.
And happens on the daily.
Community standard,
Okay,
kind of thing.
I got you.
So
it depends on what.
Like our audience here at Real Radio, there's been an FM talk station for a long time. If you listen to the docs back long ago, there might have been some words that were a little bit more acceptable for this audience versus say maybe an audience in like the middle of Missouri.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Like a community standard.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Sure.
But I think at S-Bomb, I think you're going to get away with it. I really do.
Yeah. And speaking of that,
It has. We've gotten away with it.
Sure.
But see, the whole thing is,
I don't know if our bosses would agree.
If we drop it, nothing happens unless somebody complains.
That's it.
Somebody has to complain to the FCC.
Which is possible.
And then once that happens, then they open an investigation and they see and blah, blah, blah. The one thing that does get a pass, because this is what you're probably thinking of too, is live sports. Where like it's picked up in the background from the audience.
That's
right.
Okay.
There is an exception to that.
Because
they can't control that.
I'll try to control
that's
myself.
Really kind of silly because they can control it.
They can. Yeah, they can. They're in a little bit of delay.
They got a dump button.
They get a loophole. Yeah, they have, in essence, a dump button.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, you said back in the day. So last week, somebody made a comment about acid rain. It made me think of the Stern. I was like, does anyone remember that song from Stern? There was a guy who sang, and it was acid rain. And then I realized, everyone was like, no. Johnny probably would have pulled it. It wasn't acid rain. It was chocolate rain.
Oh, I thought it as soon as you said it.
Yeah.
I'm like, you're thinking chocolate rain.
Chocolate rain.
Huh.
Chocolate rain.
Yeah.
Chocolate rain. I'm going to have to look it up. I don't remember that.
Rain.
That dude had many minutes of fame I don't
Yeah.
remember his name, but
I mean, it's
I
still
can
he's
picture
still famous.
Charlie
You just
Rain.
pulled it. I knew if anybody could have, it was you.
well, it was again something that kind of got hammered into our ears
Yeah.
on this radio station. I love
Oh,
it.
did it?
I bet Jimmy's got it in the system somewhere. I really do. If you look up,
I doubt
No?
it here. Yeah.
Oh, it was been wiped out.
So much didn't transfer down to
make it.
here from Port St. Lucie, but if it's up there, I'm sure.
Yeah, probably so.
Mhm.
Speaking of up there, my guy who's been our fearless leader for 12 plus years now, he's way up there on the list of the ranking agents with Keller Williams, way up there. It's always a pleasure to say good morning to our fearless leader, Jimmy D. Runs the top producing Keller Williams team, way up there on the list.
And he's lit.
He's super lit. Keller Williams Innovations, find the Florida Home Pros team. And Jim DePola, Jimmy D, I don't see you. There you are. How you be?
Like,
What's up, boss
hey,
man?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Happy South Florida, everybody. It's can you believe we're in late July already? More than half the year's over. Kind of crazy. Reflecting it back.
These kids who are thinking about school are dreading these last few weeks, right?
Yeah.
They're going back soon.
Yeah.
Don't you remember when
weeks.
you were a little kid? It's like, oh, I only got 2 more weeks before I have to go back to school.
I got orientation on the 8th.
I remember the summers feeling like a long time,
Yeah.
right? Like in a good way,
Yeah.
like summers forever, endless summer type of thing.
Yeah.
That's so good.
Yeah.
And
But
then
I
you get that because time is relative, right? So when you're young, we just don't have a lot of time that we've experienced. So days feel longer than
Oh, that's right. As
The
a
older we
percentage
get.
of your life,
yeah,
the younger you are, the more meaningful is an hour.
exactly.
Yeah.
The older we get, that time just shoots by.
Yeah,
I feel
I
like
know.
she
Like that.
just started summer.
Yeah, pretty much. Same thing.
Yeah.
I know it is.
And then regional, right? Because up north, it wasn't until after Labor Day.
I think
So it was like that was a benchmark. The holiday was a benchmark. And now down here, it was
Time
even
flies.
up there, they're changing.
Sure.
time flies for us in this business, Jim. Like just because you're always like what's happening this month, what's going on next month, what's right? Because everything is based on what's closing in a
Yep.
month. So you just like these months go by quickly. I feel
And
like
it's kind of like that with journalism when I used to be a journalist, because you're on constant, immediate deadlines. So every time went by really fast when you were a
this is
journalist.
the
too.
next. What's the next? What's the
Yeah,
next?
there are a lot of similarities between being a journalist and being a realtor. Believe it or not, I think
Really?
that's why I had such a good. You have to be very independent as a journalist, right? You come up with your own story ideas. Nobody's like saying, "Hey, write this." Usually,
Yeah.
it was your responsible. Come up with stories, talk to people,
Mhm.
find stories, go find news, get out in the community,
You kind
find
of
out what's
control
going
your
on.
own destiny.
Yeah, nobody knew what you were doing. Your bosses really had no idea where you were. You're driving around your own car, right? Back then, we didn't even have cell phones, so we were dealing with brick phones on big stories and walkie-talkies on everything else.
You're like, call me
right?
at this
And
payphone at
pagers.
3:30.
I've
Yeah,
been a
that's what you'd
I've
have
been a
to do.
journalist like my whole life. I have no idea what I'm doing.
So
And nobody's watching you.
Yeah, I feel like it. At
so
least.
you're really on your
Tiffany.
own, and you gotta have a sense of your own destiny when you're a journalist. And the same thing as a realtor. Nobody's handing you stuff. You got to go out there and get it.
Yep.
Right.
You got to talk to people. Getting engaged. You have to put yourself out there. In order to be a decent realtor. So there are a lot of similarities about that.
Sure.
We're not going to talk about it this week. I said I was last week on the show. I said I was going to talk about this week, but it got too crazy and I haven't done enough research. Next week, we're probably going to spend a half hour on, or like a whole segment,
On NAR.
just on the NAR lawsuits. There's another
Okay.
one just popped up. They're
A new
reviving
one?
it again. Yeah,
Oh.
and a completely different thing now.
That's
a
the
new class
national,
action.
What is that? National Association
National
of Realtors?
Association of Realtors.
Yeah.
There's a really big lawsuit, and starting August 17th, so we're less than a month away. The whole residential real estate industry is being upturned by these new regulations, and how it's going to affect the most people right now is going to be the buyers. So, but we're going to go over it all. I haven't read all the new forms. There's a whole bunch of forms that are completely changing with new content. Nancy, my admin, my Sergeant Holkuff on my team,
Oh, she's the big toe. That's
she
for
gave me
sure.
this stuff like 10 days ago, and I haven't even read it yet. So I'm going to read it all because I really want to go over it very carefully because there's going to be a lot of questions. And a lot of people are going to be blindsided because realtors were constantly talking about this for months and months and months now. But the general public doesn't really kind of know what's going on. When you talk to them, most of them don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
And there's a big disconnect because the realtors, this is like their whole world right now, and they're talking about it constantly. So they think everybody's talking about it.
Mm.
And they're not realizing regular people out there just trying to buy or sell a house. They really have no clue. read a couple things. If you read the articles, they're so confusing. It's even hard for realtors to understand. Like,
yeah, I wonder, does that make them popular at the dinner party or make them like, what the heck are you talking about?
realtors.
Yeah.
I don't think there's much of a change that way. It isn't like being a lawyer or a journalist where people hate you. They hate people, realtor, they just hate you because of your profession. Kind of like, I mean, realtors, I think, aren't going to change in that scale. I don't think they're going to go up or down. They're going to be hated as much as they were hated in
Shout
the
out
past.
Paul Krasker.
Yeah, you know how it is. So we're going to go over that next week when I have time to sit down and read everything. So we're going to go over that. But today we still got a lot of really good stuff to talk about. We're going to talk about interest rates and being a buyer. That's one of the few bright spots that are going on right now in real estate. It's actually a really great time to be a buyer. We're going to talk a little bit more about the condo crisis because as much as we were talking about the insurance crisis 18 months ago, the condo crisis is as real as the insurance crisis in Florida right now. And we're going to talk a little bit about that. People that are just fleeing their condos for pennies on the dollar because they just can't take it anymore. A lot of sad stories of people that are on fixed income and thought this was going to be their forever home. And now it may not be, and they have no plan B. So there's a lot of real stuff going on there. So we're going to talk about that. I figured though that we'd start out first, I got a weird phone call last week, and it's turning into this little side thing I'm going to be doing for a little while. Remember
like
that?
how weird on a scale of 1 to 10? Was
Well,
it like, oh, what kind
No,
of
it
pants are you
wasn't
wearing?
bad weird. It was just interesting weird. It's about the clown killer, Johnny. You know all
Oh,
about it, right?
yeah.
So
Well, I know a little about it.
a British film and television production company called me up last week and said they wanted to interview me just to find out, my involvement in that thing as a journalist. And then they were going to decide if they were going to put me on air. They've already booked a 3-part series on the show.
Huh.
On the documentary. It's going to be a 3-part series, an hour each. It's going to be on Skydance in England. No, it's going to be on Sundance in the United States, the Sundance channel. It's going to be on Skynet in England or something.
Oh, cool.
So they're coming in 2 weeks, and they're flying in, and I'm going to be one of the many people they interviewed. But it was so wild because for people who don't know from the radio show, I used to be a journalist a long time ago in my old career, and I did it for about 18 years in South Florida. And for most of that time, I was a crime and investigative reporter during the height of the crack cocaine epidemic. So it was a lot of fun being a journalist during that time. A lot of great stories, a lot of crazy Florida stories. But one of the stories I covered was a woman who was murdered and shot and killed by a person dressed up as a clown that went to her house in a very exclusive area of Wellington, and then knocked on the door with flowers and a balloon, and then shot the owner in the face and then disappeared. And for 27 years, it was an unsolved crime. So they finally arrested somebody in 2017. Ironically, Johnny has like kind of not personal connections, but like professional kind of connections through family members on the defense of that. And so it was kind of weird. I covered it back in the day.
To the alleged.
Yeah, to the defense, for the defense. He knows the people that were defending
I got you.
the accused.
Got it. He's like a Kardashian.
Yeah, exactly. So what ended up happening?
Yeah, related to the defense team.
Related,
Yeah, totally, absolutely.
So
Now I get it.
Yeah.
So they asked me to start trying to dig up old detectives and stuff from, this is like 27 years ago, right? So I had this one detective that covered part of that crime, and he was still in my phone, right? And I probably haven't talked to this person since 1998. So I called him up after the interview with the production company to see if he would cooperate with the story. And
Did he remember you?
First of all, his number worked, and he called me back 15 minutes after I left the voicemail. I'm like, wow, is that amazing?
He got the weird call then.
Yeah, so when he picked up the phone, he was like, is this the famous Pulitzer Prize winning Gin DePola or something? I hadn't talked to him since 1998, and I'm like, wow, it was pretty cool. Brought back a lot of fun memories of the people I knew back then and everything.
Neat.
So anyway, that was kind of interesting. And
Just so the crime happened while you were, so you reported on it at the time.
Yeah, so I was like in the breaking news. So I was at the house while the woman, I don't want to be too grotesque, but while the woman was still at the house laying on the ground, with the
You heard the
covering
the
over her.
scanner.
The actual live crime scene.
Yeah,
yeah.
and I think if you go
Active.
back and look at the old footage, you'll see me standing around, because I was print, so but I think the TV crews caught me a little bit here and there, just doing my thing. And it was a really big deal, and everybody was afraid about clowns in Wellington, and there were all
Mhm.
these Elvis sightings about clowns in woods and wooded areas and stuff, and they were afraid there was this serial killer clown person running around. So it was kind of interesting, but it was bringing back journalism memories, is what I was trying to say about this. And then there was an article I read last night, and I thought it was really interesting because it reminded me of other stuff we had done as a journalist. This is about moving companies. Okay. I know we're switching gears completely here, but back when I was a newspaper reporter in the 90s, the Sun Sentinel did this huge investigation into moving companies because there was a lot of fraud going on in moving companies. And what they were doing is they were giving you a quote to move your furniture, and then they put the stuff on the truck. And by the time they got it to the new place, they would say, "I'm sorry, your poundage is 600 pounds more than what we estimated. You need to pay us X amount of more dollars,
Or you're not getting your stuff.
or you're not getting your stuff," and they hold it hostage, and they
Yep.
just take it away, and they just steal your stuff, basically. It was as bad as the insurance industry
Yeah.
fraud that was going on. So they did. They went ahead, because of the articles, they went ahead and changed the law, Johnny. Oh,
What?
I'm sorry. I thought you'd seen this. I thought you were saying something. So what happened was they created all these state laws and regulations to stop that from happening, and all the problems just shut down and stopped. And then over 10 or 15 years, they undid all those laws again.
Mm.
And now they're doing the same thing. So there was, and it reminded me of being a journalist. I'm like, wow, what's old is new again. So there's a
gonna
new
say it.
Florida law that protects consumers from one kind of moving scam. We're still having the problem with the scams about the wait and getting a one quote and then getting there and holding your stuff hostage. That's still happening, not at the level it was in the 90s. But now what they're doing is, and I've seen this with our customers, this is why I'm talking about it. You have to be very careful when you're hiring a moving company, because a lot of times when you call a number to hire a moving company, you're not calling the moving company. You're calling a broker
Yep.
that is just going to find you a moving company.
Yep.
So all the information they're giving you is kind of bull, because they are not representing any company. They're going to go out and find a company for you, and then they make a spread. So you could be, they make a profit of, or like a fee, a service fee. They're not telling you this,
Yeah.
but they're charging a service fee for them to help you
But they
find a mover.
advertise themselves as a mover, and they get you to call
Mhm.
the number, and they talk to you as if they're the mover, but really they're just connecting you to a real mover.
Uh-huh. And then when you have a problem, you usually go back to that broker, and the broker's like, "I'm sorry, I'm not the company that
Right,
moved you, blah,
right.
blah, blah, blah,
We
blah."
had to contract sub this out.
So you're not allowed to do that anymore. They created a new regulation.
I think there's something like you have to have a physical location.
It says the law prevents brokers from presenting themselves as moving companies and providing inaccurate estimates to customers, and they'll be going to be legally liable for it now. It requires all documents to be prepared by a moving company registered with the state, not a broker, and for any estimate given to the customer to be signed as binding by that moving company. So the broker can't put down one price. You say, okay, sign a document with the broker, and then the moving company comes back and charges you more. The quote you get has to be binding, and it has to be signed by the moving company, not the broker.
So, I mean, anybody that's used a mover before, typically, they come out, they look at what you have, they do an assessment, and then they give you that, that bid or that quote. The fact that that's going to be binding, I kind of always would have assumed it would have been, but we've heard all the horror stories. I mean, for a long time, how it's not always the case. So nice to know that there's actually some liability now for these brokers, because if they don't have any liability, they don't care.
Yeah,
It's
what
easy
do
to
they
just
care?
So
Yeah.
at least if they could force a little bit of liability on them now,
They
now
have to
they're
be a
good,
little more
now
careful,
they're gonna be
right?
very careful.
Yeah, hopefully we're in Florida, so you never know, right?
Truth. Yeah, the devil's in the details.
It is.
Yeah.
So, with moving companies, we've had several moving companies on our show back in the early days. And yeah, I know we have a call. But we've had several movie companies back in the early days. We stopped putting them on the show because we've had so many issues over the time. Be very careful when you hire a moving company. And if you're moving out of state, you have a lot more questions asked. We'll get into that some other time. But
Okay.
anyway, at least the laws were changed. It was bringing back my own journalism days.
There you go.
We got a caller, do we?
We do. Yep. Absolutely. 877-927-6969. Toll free into the studio. Who we got there, Jimothy?
We have Dan. He has a legal question for us. We'll start with that. Dan, welcome to Florida Talk Real Estate.
What's up, Dan? How are you?
Thank you. Thank you. Several years ago, I was in a corporation, and we owned some apartment buildings, and we converted an old house into a restaurant. And I'd been in the restaurant business before, so I kind of knew what I was talking about. And my partners didn't want to do the same deal with the restaurant I did. And so, cut a long story short, they ended up behind my back in a secret meeting, kicking the restaurant owner out. And it screwed up our whole corporation.
Mm-hmm.
And we ended up selling everything and not making any money, which is ridiculous. But I'm really trying to look for a lawyer that would take this case on a contingency basis. I'd like to recover what I could from the damages they gave.
I have a law firm. I know that the reason why I'm not bringing up, if people are wondering, the reason why I'm not bringing up the law office of Paola Krasker, which is my go-to company, they do specialize in real estate, but Paul prefers not to do litigation. And a lot of times he'll refer out anything that looks like it has to be litigated out to other people. Paul prefers not to go to court if he doesn't have to. And he's usually pretty sharp when he tells you not to go to court, because he'll tell you what's going to happen to court, and then he's usually right. But I do have another law firm that is a litigation law firm. Whether or not, Dan, they're going to do it on contingency, I don't know. I can get you off air their phone number, and I can get you a person to talk to. Now, I have to be real. I just had another woman, Heidi, call, and we brought him over to that law firm, but they would not, like Paul, give a free consultation. So they wanted to be paid for just the initial consultation. And the family felt it was high cost, so they chose not to. So I'm being real with you, but I know they're a very legitimate law firm, and they're not going to take a case unless they believe they can win, that you can win. And I can get you to that person, but I can't give you like somebody guaranteed, oh yeah, call this person for sure, no problem, like I do with Paul Krasker.
All right, that sounds good.
Okay, so if you just give Jimothy, thank you for calling, and if you give Jimothy your information off the air on Monday, I'll be calling. If you could give him your email and your phone number, I'll send you an email introducing to the law firm, and then I text you in case it goes into your junk. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Just out of curiosity, how long have you been listening to the show, Dan? Is this like first time, or have you been listening for a little bit?
No, forever. I used to listen to Johnny C. when he was back, started his show
Nights?
years ago. I listened to him forever.
Oh,
Yeah,
awesome.
awesome.
One of us.
Yes.
Absolutely. Well, we appreciate you being out there always. We'll put you on hold there, Jimothy. I'll get you information. Have a great rest of your weekend, my friend, and thanks for the support over all these years.
Johnny. Thank you. Good talking to you guys.
Pleasure. Hopefully we get some good advice for you there. 877-927-6969. That's toll free. The number works well today. You got questions, comments, concerns in the world of real estate? Plenty of time for you on a Saturday to join the program. If you're not comfortable on the radio, believe me, I understand. Go to FloridaTalkRealEstate.com. Your one-stop real estate shop. You get the entire team. Bros. Get them all at FloridaTalkRealEstate.com.
Let's see, before the break.
Before the fall. Did I throw you for a loop there, Jim? I went to hit the cough button and my camera got disconnected.
I wanted to
somehow.
talk about, and I'm not finding
interest rates.
Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about interest rates and why it's a good time to be a buyer right now, and then we're going to continue after the commercial break, and then we're going to get into the market report. The monthly market report for June just came out. Let me tell you, my mouth dropped again on this report. It's like month after month. This is 3 months in a row where we set a new record for high price, but the other indicators look weak. So the price is looking strong, but everything else is looking weak on indicators for the future.
Florida,
we're in a really weird market right now.
I
Very
heard
weird.
I haven't looked at the report, but you said that, and I was like, "What? That doesn't make any sense." Not with like what we're the feel of the market.
Yeah,
what we're seeing it.
So we're in a very strange market, but this is what people aren't hearing it's a very, I don't want to say great. I almost said great when I wrote it, and I took it and I wrote good.
The best.
But it's a good time to be in the market as a buyer. And I know people are probably thinking, what? That doesn't make any sense. There's a lot of inventory out there. There's a lot of people, a lot of sellers that are willing to come off their list price or gives incentives to you to help you buy the home. There's a lot. And if you work this market correctly and you have a savvy buyer's agent, you can do pretty good in this market right now. You're still going to be paying, the current prevailing interest rates. But let me tell you something. The interest rates, Mike, we had a flat week last week, right, with the interest rates for Freddie Mac. We went from 6.77 to 6.78. Okay, that's where we were. But we are a half a point below May 2nd, which was 7.22. So we're already a half a point down without a Fed cut, right? Now, I heard in the newspaper articles I read leading up in the week that the rate was starting to go up again. I don't know if that's true.
Well, we just had a 0.01.
Yeah, 0.01. That's like 12 cents a month.
But that's the first increase in 3 weeks.
Yeah, so we've only had
We had a nice
3 weeks.
little dip.
But we're holding here at like 6 3/4 basically is where we're holding for the Freddie Mac number. That is pretty good overall. If you go back to November of last year, we were at 7.79, right? Now the next high after that is May at 7.22, but we're at 6 3/4 now. We've been hovering in 7 for several months before this. So first of all, you already have a half point drop compared to a month ago. So you already got your interest rate drop, some of it, right? The other thing, the inventory is growing and growing and growing. So that means you have more opportunities.
I think the recent drop we're seeing is really advantageous for people who are in the market, like active, like, oh, rates got a little better for me this week. Great, right? That's great news. I think if you're not in the market and you're just kind of like on the sidelines saying, where interest rates, it still feels high.
It does.
Only compared to the last 5-year type window. And so I think for the general person who's not really in the market, like people we're actively working with, they're like rates are so high. You're gonna be somewhere between 6.5% and 7%, right? Depending on factors. And people still hear that and they're like, oh my gosh. I had two people this week. They're like, what? Rates? Where? I thought they were in the 5s. I'm like, I don't know where you heard that or who's doing that or what they're paying to get that, but it's still out there. So that sentiment is still rates are high. I don't know what number makes people say rates are low.
I really think
maybe
that
it's a 5.
I think that if we get a 5, even if it's 5.99,
5.999,
right? Even if we got a 5, just any type of 5, it would be
refi
dam
boom.
bursting. It would be the dam bursting. Because there would be a lot of buyers coming in once they see. I think that's a psychological 5.99.
I think you get into the low 6s. I think you're going to see it turn on like a faucet turning on, but you get into the 5s, and yeah.
Low 6s, we're going to get a lot of people, but I think if we have 5.99, it'll be frenzy time, like when we got down into the 3s, right? And then we got down to the 2s at that one point during COVID. Everybody went nuts.
Well, that's stupid time. And I hate that people even compare it to the stupid time. I was listening. We were watching little old school Ghostbusters the other day.
Yeah.
By the way, what's up? Yeah, my little girl's big horror buff. And there's one scene where one of those dogs is chasing Rick Moranis' character, and it just looks so bad. She's like, "That's bad." But everything else is like, "It's pretty good."
But at the time, you're like, "Whoa!"
At the time, yeah.
Did the gargoyle just turn?
The gargoyle. Look at that!
Whoa, yeah.
So there's a scene there where, and it's right where everything's kicking in. So Rick Moranis is not quite the gatekeeper yet, but he's almost the gatekeeper. He's got the party going on at his apartment. Are you with me?
Spoiler alert.
Right? Sorry if I'm ruining this for anybody.
He's the gatekeeper.
Well, he will be the gatekeeper.
What was the Gordy key master?
Key master.
Yeah.
Okay. So, or maybe he's the key master. She's
the gatekeeper.
Yeah, that might be it. I think he's the key master. So he's got his little soiree, right? And he's trying to get Sigourney Weaver's character.
He was such a great
bring your
character.
date. Well, this one couple shows up. He's like, "Hey, here's so and so and so and so," and he like lays out. He's in financing and blah blah blah. Right? And he goes, They've almost paid off their house at 8%. And I turned to my wife, I'm like, 8%. They're bragging about 8%. And this is a time that's perceived by many people as like, oh, these were the great years for this country. You know, the Reagan years were so awesome. He's bragging about 8%. Interesting times, right? Now we're like, oh man, 6, 7,
6.75. You know,
I'm not even
like,
going to consider buying a house.
It's true.
We have ruined ourselves.
I had that conversation this week. I had to say, listen, I remember we're just kind of spitballing about rates, and they said, I remember when I bought my first house, it was 1999. And I paid like 6.5. I think it was 6.25 or 6.5 at the time. And I didn't think anything of it.
I paid
like,
9.25 in '94.
My Limp Bizkit's going to be at the amphitheater on the 6th. We're going to party like it's 1999. You're gonna come, you should come out, man.
This was this is right around the first Woodstock. You know, was that 99?
There was a 99 Woodstock. Yeah,
there was.
I'm sorry, not the first.
It was not the first. It was a 99.
Yeah, new
30-year anniversary. Yeah, 30th anniversary. Yeah,
I'm thinking of the one where they went and Limp Bizkit. You know,
99. Yeah, you're there. Yeah, but we're gonna party like it's 99.
Nice.
That'll be a week from Tuesday.
Well,
come on, Mike. We're in the pit. Let's go.
Let's go ahead and take a break. But I want to leave off on this since you're talking about nostalgia stuff. You know, I have Cam, the video guy, in town, so we watched Richard Pryor live in concert. I have it 1979. I remember. The funny part is I haven't seen it since 1970. I almost remembered the whole
word for word.
Yeah,
Wow.
almost right. Even the noises he was making, everything. But I got to tell you, and I'm a huge Richard Pryor fan, but that one didn't hold up so good. I bet you live on Sunset Strip after he got burnt up.
Yeah.
My favorite joke on that one is, and I haven't seen that since he did it. Right. He lit a
JoJo
match.
Dancer? Is that what it is?
They
Was
called
that
it
a movie he did?
Yeah, JoJo Dancer was
after he
about
got
his
burned
life.
up, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
he got burnt up
Yeah.
with the freebasing on the freebase pipe. But at the concert, he lit a match, and then he held it and held it.
He's like, it's me.
Yeah, he goes, "What is this?" And he literally goes, "This is me running down the street."
So I haven't had a Richard Pryor reference in a long time. Just the other day, I was talking. You remember the movie Brewster's Millions?
Of course.
Yeah.
I was with a bunch of young cats that I work with, and I'm like, I don't know if it holds up, but if you like Richard Pryor, you need to check out Brewster's Millions. John Candy, right? I don't know how it holds up, but I loved that movie as a kid.
Yeah,
And the premise was amazing. You had to spend like what, 3 million, 30 million or something to get 300 million.
Yeah.
You couldn't have anything to show for it.
That was like, yeah, exactly. He had to spend it all.
Right.
And
He had to
couldn't just
spend it
give it
all, or
away.
he
Yeah,
wouldn't.
couldn't
He couldn't
just buy
give it away.
stuff.
He had to buy
Right.
stuff with it. And that's like kind of like Funny Farm, and there were a bunch of John Candy, Great Outdoors, and all those. They were all like on that vein, and they were just really good, feel good movies that made you feel good.
they've been replaying John Candy.
Yeah.
So Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. You remember that one?
You're
With,
going the wrong way.
Uncle Buck, Summer Vacation.
Home
No,
Alone.
Home
what am I
Alone.
thinking of? Summer
Home
Vacation.
Alone.
Is that it?
Yeah, Summer Vacation.
Or just vacation?
No, Great Outdoors.
Great
No,
Outdoors.
Summer
Right.
Rental.
Summer Rental.
Summer Rental.
Yes.
I love that one. The
Yeah.
Summer Rental was a fun one. I like watching that one.
Yeah, he was really good.
Okay, we're gonna go ahead and take a. We're gonna. That was so funny. We're gonna go ahead and take a break. On the flip side, we're gonna continue with the buyers and the market report, which is really, really surprising.
Yeah,
So
right
we're
when you
gonna
think
talk
you
about-
you understand everything, you find out, oh, I don't understand anything.
I don't know,
Actually, yeah. We got a quick little reset. We'll get back at it. Remember, Florida Talk Real Estate is at .com. You can do everything from talk about Richard Pryor and John Candy to get yourself hooked up with an amazing agent. Go buy a home, sell a home, stuck with a home you don't know what to do. Everything in between, you get pros, experts in their field at floridatalkrealestate.com. Of course, we got plenty of radio time for you available. 4 minutes from now, we get back at it. Thanks for being with us. Florida Talk Real Estate. We're right here. It's Real Radio.
What's a Real Radio podcast? It's Real Radio on demand. Find your favorite show at realradio921.com. Here's what's happening with the weather on Real Radio.
From the Gordon & Partners Weather Center, have you or a loved one been injured through no fault of your own? Call 561-333-3333 or go to fortheinjured.com.
I'm CBS 12 meteorologist Charlotte Carl. We are steamy this afternoon with high temperatures topping out in the low and mid 90s, just a smidge above our average for this time of year, with those heat index values, which is the really oppressive factor, in the triple digits. Although most of us will stay dry today, tomorrow we have a higher chance for some afternoon showers.
This report is sponsored by Staples Stores. With Staples Hot Deals, you'll find super low prices on hundreds of items for back to school, including tech. Right now, get up to $500 off select PCs at Staples. Plus, save even more with the Easy Rewards program. Ends 9/14. For participating stores, visit staples.com/stores/school deals.
Hey, it's your boy Johnny C here, host of Florida Talk Real Estate. They're tops when it comes to helping people buy and sell houses. But Florida Talk Real Estate is so much more than that. For 5 years, I've watched these guys help thousands of our listeners with any real estate need. They couldn't do it without their sponsors, who are experts in their fields. Check it out. Jim DePola, powered by Keller Williams Realty. Their team specializes in helping people sell their house for top dollar, and buyers get great deals on the purchase of their home. That's what they did for me and my family, and I couldn't be happier that I hired them for my real estate transaction. Mike Rauch from the mortgage firm is one of our favorite guests on the show, and he is the mortgage guy. Whether you're looking for a refi or a mortgage to purchase a new home, Mike Rauch will get you the answers you need. The mortgage firm is licensed to do loans in Florida, Alabama, Tennessee, and Georgia, and they have local offices that cover all of South Florida. So if you're thinking about a refi or a new mortgage, go to the mortgage guy, Mike Rauch, and find out what he can do for you. The Mortgage Firm, Inc., NMLS 189233, Florida license MLD 78, equal housing lender. The law office of Paul A. Krasker has been specializing in real estate law for nearly 25 years and has the professional team you need. Upside down with your house, Paul's team can help you conduct short sales, loan modifications, even if you're behind on payments. They also help you with foreclosure defense and bankruptcy. They can even help you get a student loan modification and repair your credit to get the score you need. Paul's full-service team has helped thousands of our listeners, and they can help you too. Trident Title LLC is the largest privately owned title company in Florida. When you need a title company to complete a refi, home purchase, or sale, Trident Title has got you covered. Not only do they offer competitive pricing, Trident Title has attorneys on staff to make sure if you have bumps in the road declaring title that you can get the job done. Beware, not all title companies in Florida have attorneys on staff. Trident Title does and complies with all the new federal regulations released last year. Ross Camaronets, owner of Brightway Insurance, has been helping our listeners get great rates on homeowners insurance plans. Haven't checked your homeowners insurance policy in a while? This is a great way to help reduce your monthly mortgage payment. Ross can also help with renters and auto insurance. Ross is only a phone call away and can usually get the answers you need same day.
Call Ross today at 561-425-6228 or drop by his office at 873 Donald Ross Road in Juno Beach.
So now you know why I'm happy to be part of the Florida Talk Real Estate Show, the longest running real estate show in Florida. And all these sponsors are just a phone call or a click away. Just call 888-973-7828. That's 888-973-7828. Or go to floridatalkrealestate.com. That's floridatalkrealestate.com. And don't forget to use the most accurate search engine to find your new home or ask for a free home valuation because floridatalkrealestate.com has you covered. That's floridatalkrealestate.com.
This is Real Radio 92.1 and 101.7. Real talk for the Palm Beaches and the Treasure Coast. This is Florida Talk Real Estate with Jim DePola and Johnny C. Got a question for the show? Call us live at 1-877-927-6969.
That's it, 877-927-6969. Toll free if you'd like to be a part of the program. We got plenty of time for you on this Saturday. We'll get you up until 11. Pass the baton to the locker room. Johnny C, well, that's me. Of course, Jimothy is our producer extraordinaire. Also going to be running things for the locker room. You guys live today, yes?
Yes, we will be live.
Beautiful.
Yep. Talk some sports. Got the football coming up.
We sure
Couple
do.
more weeks away, huh?
We got tens of millions of dollars being thrown around. It makes me want to throw up in my mouth.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm on the verge of giving up the NFL. Man. On the verge.
Really?
When you start paying quarterbacks 50, almost, we're going to see 6. When Dak Prescott signs his deal, whether it's with the Cowboys or whoever it may be next year, if he doesn't sign one with the Cowboys, he's going to be $60 million a year.
What was Jordan?
That's like
55?
peanuts.
Jordan Love, yeah,
Fif-
55. It's
about
the same as
55 million?
the same as Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow's been
Right.
to a Super Bowl.
Mhm.
Joe Burrow has beaten Patrick Mahomes in Kansas City. Jordan Love got the same payday as that dude.
Mhm.
That's a stupid, stupid time in the NFL. I'm about to give it up, man.
Yep. Tua is about 52-ish.
Yeah, at least Tua led the
Mhm.
league in passing last year.
Yep.
But that's my goodness.
But
Jared,
even more
Jared
so-
Goff. Jared Goff has a 5 in his first number.
53.
Right.
Trevor Lawrence has a 5 in his first number.
55.
I
got the list.
I'm about to quit the NFL.
Why are you hating?
That is absurd.
Well,
You think they're
my
overpaid?
question
Oh my
would be,
God.
well,
Beyond.
my question would be is how much is the team making?
Enough.
Like, right? Let's say I'm just making it up. Let's say they're making $1 billion a year. I'm just making it up.
Well, so
right?
yeah.
Is 60
But
million for
but
your
you're,
top
you're
player?
losing sight. I am always a players guy, not an owner
Mhm.
guy. I am forever. I am a union dude. I am a worker guy. I have never sided with the owners in negotiation for contracts ever. We're just talking about level of pay here. You're going to pay a quarterback $60 million a year. So at that point, the cap has to be like $300 million. Where the cap stands right now, you're going to pay your quarterback like a
Oh, I
third
see
of
you.
your
I
cap.
see where you're coming.
You're
Yeah.
destroying
Okay.
a team.
Yeah.
Like as a Cowboy fan, I let Dak walk.
Mhm.
We'll find someone else
See,
versus $60 million a year. You're
wow.
destroying your future as a team. So a lot has to change if they're going to start paying these any average quarterbacks. So Dak, I sound like a homer, but Dak is an all-pro last year.
Right.
Dak was second in MVP voting, right? He's been one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL really since he was drafted. Truly, his numbers are ridiculous. Now,
Except by one measure.
he doesn't win playoff games,
Right.
right?
Right.
But is that what we're doing? Trevor Lawrence hasn't
Right.
done squat. Like
Right.
again, Burrow went to a Super Bowl. At least Goff has been there. Like Tua hasn't done squat. If that's
Right.
the measure, we're still off.
Well, the way I look at it, and I'm not an expert on the cap and stuff like you are, and I watch Omar
I'm far
Kelly.
from, by
I
the way.
watch like Omar Kelly a lot. He really understands contracts really, really well. He used to be a colleague of mine at the Sentinel. Then he went solo, and now he was with I Am Athlete or something, and then he moved over to the Herald, right? And he's like Mr. Contract guy. He's like, most of the numbers you're reading are bull. They're not making $50 million a year, and he starts breaking it down. It's like they're really guaranteed, fully guaranteed money. They said if they have the information on Tua right, he's really going to be getting over the next 5 years, fully guaranteed, no matter what happens, like $167,000 over the next 3 years, right? So he's going to be making
million.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
it's
So
1,000, yeah,
guaranteed,
million, yeah.
guaranteed is if you never take another snap.
Well,
this is what you're
fully
gonna make.
guaranteed.
Well,
There's
exactly.
two
That's-
different
Yeah.
guarantees.
Well, in
now.
every contract, normally they get reworked before the end, and the
Mhm.
money's changed. So yeah, you're probably not going to see all that. But if they get a new contract, you will see all of it because they'll be adding to the
Which
top
is
of
what
it.
they just did.
Exactly.
Right,
Yeah,
they
they're
just did that.
extensions. That's the
Right.
best way to do it. When you
Right.
wait for a contract to end, and again, this is not a sports show, you're screwing yourself.
Right.
Like the Cowboys did.
Yeah.
You get to the end of a contract, you need to extend years ahead.
Yeah.
You got to plan for these
But-
things way
But
ahead.
my devil's advocate is like when they were arguing, should Tua get the contract or just stay for the 5th year and then decide afterwards? The problem I see that for the team is who are you going to get better, right? Who could you get better if you don't do it? I know he's stuck for the year,
Well,
but then if he
they
does,
tanked for Tua. The fact that
Right.
they even
right.
delayed
They-
and
I
extended,
know, which is
wait a minute, we
ridiculous. It's
tanked
like
for this guy.
right, but the thing is like if you wait till the 5th year is over and then you renegotiate, you come into Christian Wilkins, right? We lost Christian Wilkins. If they had worked with him before that year, and then he didn't sign because he thought he was worth more, so he's like, I'm going to prove it to you. I'm just going to shove it down your throat. And then he did. He did exactly. Even Chris Gear said that guy did exactly what he said he was going to do. And then they didn't want to pay him.
Well, that's it. They didn't want to. They weren't gonna.
But-
so they could have franchised
but-
him. They could have kept him. There's ways to keep him, but they weren't going to justify
Right,
paying
but
that.
now I feel like the line is weaker without him. So it's like they didn't do themselves any favor. Now I know cap money, you got to spread the money around. You have to figure out
Have
what,
to.
but that guy to me was like a main player for his line. And to lose him and then to find somebody else to replay him, they're not saving that much money. But I'm coming from a neophyte that doesn't really get in the granular stuff. So anyway, I just think it's interesting. We're not a sports show. It's kind of interesting because Tua signed the contract yesterday. So
He
So
did,
it's
yeah. But
interesting.
yeah, we're getting to the
Yeah.
point now where, and they'll talk plenty in the locker room.
Yeah.
It is, you're seeing teams mortgage their futures to sign a quarterback that you're like,
Yeah.
Okay, I guess that's
And
your guy.
That's
Gotta get the win.
Omar's favorite
Yeah.
thing. He called this year the Capocalypse,
It's
right?
insane.
And that's exactly what happened because they had to push out
Capocalypse.
like Christian Wilkins. And he goes, we're riding on credit card. We're using Visa to pay American Express. And, everything is being kicked down the road because they want to win the Super Bowl. And they're saying that it will probably end up like New Orleans. We might end up winning a Super Bowl or something. And then the whole team is going to collapse because they've been robbing Peter to pay Paul for so long. Then
Maybe the
gotta
NFL
rebuild.
needs an equivalent of the Fed, right? With just a big lever to turn up or turn down the heat.
Yeah,
Yep.
exactly. Right.
Jimothy, are you guys talking Olympics at all?
We will, I'm sure.
There's
Yeah, they just
today
started
is mixed doubles
Mhm.
badminton. Men's singles badminton is
Mhm.
happening today.
U.S. already won a silver.
Did they?
I
Yeah.
think it's synchronized swimming, if I'm not
Okay.
mistaken.
Mhm,
Yeah.
mhm.
Did anybody see Gojira during the opening? That was amazing.
No.
Medal performance for the opening of the
Oh, no, I
Olympics.
didn't.
Phenomenal.
The only thing I saw in passing was they did Imagine on the like some sort of bar. I don't know, was it a boat or float or something out there?
Mm.
That
Nice.
was pretty neat.
Kazakhstan is
to,
currently running fourth place with the bronze
Oh, how about that?
in the medal count.
Fantastic. Well, let me
Yep.
get the
Sorry, Jimothy, go ahead.
let me get the official introductions out of the way.
Oh.
Mike Rauch, mortgage guy from the mortgage firm.
Wow, I forgot we bypassed that.
Well, I actually was
we went right
introducing
over it.
Jimothy, and I
I'm
got all
sorry.
sporty.
That's right. Thanks,
Yeah.
Jimothy.
Yeah. Thanks.
Hi guys, welcome to Florida Talk Real Estate.
As Jim DePola, Jimmy D with the Florida Home Pros team, Keller Williams Innovations.
Jimmy D. Let's talk a little bit about we were talking about interest rates and how they're a half a point lower than May, and people aren't really recognizing that because they're waiting for the Fed to come out in September with a price cut, with a cut to the Fed that they're hoping is going to translate into mortgage rate reduction. And we're already seeing mortgage rate reductions, people. We're seeing it now. It's happening right now. So if you're waiting around for the mortgage rates to drop, you should have started in May. Because that's when they started dropping. So what I'm trying to tell you is I'm trying to be a little up here and tell the buyers out there, this is your time to take advantage of the market if you want to buy. As long as you can get qualified to purchase what you can afford and it's in the type of house that you want for the price you can afford with today's mortgage rates, not with some kind of teaser rate that's going to happen down the road. This is the time to buy because you are going to be strongest right now. Why? There aren't enough buyers out there for the housing that we have. And you can get deals, especially if the house is not super Mac Daddy and it's not fully on point, hitting all the check marks. Those are the houses that you're going to have the best deal with. And a lot of sellers right now, not all of them, but there's a lot more sellers that are motivated now than there were even a year ago or 6 months ago. So it's really important for buyers to understand where you stand right now. And you really need to start taking advantage of this because the people I'm working with are getting very, very good deals on their houses when they're going out to buy. Now, there's an article that was in Business Insider. Headline is U.S. housing market is turning more buyer friendly, right? They're saying nearly a quarter of the homes saw price cuts in June. 25%. This is according to Zillow. So they have like a bigger national perspective, if you will. And Zillow saying 25% of the homes that they have on their website have had price reductions. 25%. They said that's the highest rate since 2018. 2018. Is that when the Fed started raising the rates to stop off inflation for 2019? Yes. And we got up to 5.99 or 5.94, and everybody was losing their religion over it back then. So we're in that kind of time right now. We're in a buyer's market. We are in a buyer's market right now. This is your time to take advantage of this opportunity. And so if you have any questions about buying, please give us a call. I didn't know, Jimmy, we have somebody online right now.
Yes.
I wasn't going to interrupt your thought.
I'm sorry, I didn't even see
That's
it.
all right.
That's all
Yeah,
right.
so we'll get back to the buyers and what's happening in the market in just a second. Let's take always calls come first.
Sure. We have Fred is checking in
nice.
with us. Now, Fred is a success story, and he wants to share a 2-year anniversary, I do believe. Fred, welcome to the show. How you doing today, buddy?
Hey, I'm doing great. Thanks for taking my call, guys.
Hey, Fred, how you doing? Do you mind if I tell them about your company? What is the name of your company and what you do?
My company is a pool company, Carlson Ross Pools. But if I were to sell companies, I would take a shameless plug for my daughter's pastry shop and a bake.
Well, we could do that too. We're going to do both. Okay.
Everybody wants baking.
Yes. So
Everybody wants a pool mess.
Fred had an interesting thing when we were selling his house. When I went over to go over his house to sell it, I wasn't expecting to have a commercial bakery inside the house, right? And it was a commercial bakery. They converted their kitchen and then their living room, dining room into commercial baking equipment. And Anna, Fred's daughter, owns a company called Anna Bakes,
I
and she
remember
was
that.
doing it out of her house
Yeah.
and cooking everything there. It was legal. It wasn't illegal. They found out that they were allowed to operate a business in their home.
Sure.
And then
Yeah, it's the Florida cottage law.
I'm sorry?
It was a Florida cottage law. Yeah.
Yeah,
Cottage law.
but he was in a gated community. So the people, when they had to pick up the product, had to go through the gate in order to come over to the house. But it worked out great, and she was doing great. And what an entrepreneur. She's a young woman, just doing
She now
great.
owns she's got her own shop right in Wellington, and she's doing really well. It's called Anna Bakes and Candid Coffee.
Yep, and it's
Very
right
cool.
by
And,
Kiki's Diner in Wellington, in the Wellington Mall area.
Yep.
Mhm.
And it's so funny. I remember.
There's a-
Oh, sorry, Fred. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. No, you please go. Go ahead.
I remember talking to them back in the day, and then it turns out we had a mutual a friend of Anna who also does baking, Caroline, who has a cookie company, who now Adiana, my daughter, works for, making the cookies.
Yep.
Yeah. So I had that connection.
Yep,
I knew
it's a great
Caroline
thing.
through a business group, and then somehow we got onto it, and Anna and Caroline are friends. So
Anna Bakes is
pretty
really
neat.
good stuff. If you're in the Wellington area, you got to go there. I know Anna Bakes, but what's the name of the coffee company it's connected to?
Candid Coffee.
Candid Coffee and Anna Bakes. So if you're over in Forest Hill Boulevard and 441 on the southwest corner, that's where Anna Bakes is. You got to check it out. It's really good stuff.
Absolutely right.
Turn you into a
But the other-
diabetic.
Thanks for that shameless plug. But more, more than that, it's not a sports show. It is definitely a real estate show. You guys do a great job. You do a fantastic job. And I called in because Jim, you reminded me that it's my 2-year anniversary of buying my home from you, and it's worked out just absolutely beautiful. I also want to give hats off to Johnny C, because I don't know if Johnny would remember this, but when I first looked at the market, I wasn't quite ready, but I reached out to Jim because I felt comfortable, and Johnny C would call me like once a month on a little tickler file, and you could always tell it was a little bit put off to make that call. But Johnny, it worked out for you because you spade the sale, and I'm a complete Florida Talk real estate junkie. I love your product. I think you guys do a professional job, and what you sell is real.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad you were receptive and understanding that it wasn't there was no pressure there. It was just staying in touch with you, Fred, making sure we're ready when you're ready, brother.
Yep, because we can't know when you're ready unless we make the call to reach out. That's why
right.
we do. We're not trying to pressure you. You just want to be there when
That's
you
right.
need us. And
That's
the way
right.
to do that is to check in once in a while, say hello, how's things going? How's your life? Can I help you with anything?
And I know sometimes you were in a little better place than others. Sometimes it was not a great time. Talk to you soon. But I'm glad to know that, man, 2 years, huh?
Yeah, so I just looking at the interest rates back then, Mike. Mike, you did the loan for Fred, right? If I'm not mistaken, I'm
I
pretty
don't
sure
I
you
don't
did
remember what happened
Fred,
with
did
that.
you
actually.
do the loan? I forget. Did Mike do the loan or not? I
No,
can't.
mine ended up going through Truist Bank. It went through a bank loan.
Oh, that's right. That's right. And they gave you a good deal on it too. But back then, when he bought his house, the interest rates for Freddie Mac were 5.81. Right now, that was high.
Yep.
Okay, we were in a very fast climb at that point. So as early as in January, we were at 3.22, and by the time he bought, we were at 5.81. Everybody was freaking out at that time about buying a house. It's like, I'm not going to buy a house with 5.81 interest rates. I want my 3.22.
Well, it's because we
right?
had an incredibly steep.
And it was, if you look at
increase.
the chart, it was
Yeah.
a very steep increase, right?
Yeah.
It went up really fast. So everybody was like stopping and putting this, brakes on. And then Fred had to do it because he had a personal life change, but he ended up moving into downtown Lake Worth. He has like this really, I call it like an antique cottage type of house. You see a lot of them in the Keys, and he could walk right down the street and go on Lake and Lucerne.
Nice.
It's like a great location. And I'm sure the value of that house, Fred, has probably increased it, let's see, 2 years. you probably have at least 20% more equity in it right now than you did when you bought it, and your
Grossly.
interest rate is about a point lower than what people are paying today. So when people said to Fred at the time, it's not, what are you buying a house for? It's, why don't you just rent or something? It's probably a better time to do that.
I got so much of that. Don't buy. And now I'm so glad I did. And anyone who's waiting, it's a great time to buy, because if your interest rate's a little bit higher, you can change that down the road. You got to buy when the house is there, and that's it. It was a great thing. I don't hesitate. Don't hesitate for a minute to buy now. In my opinion, it worked for me.
And this is what would have happened, Fred, if you waited. So in June, it was July, it was 581. Then it got down to 499, almost a whole point. But then by the time we hit November, we were at 7.08, a point and a quarter more than the 581. So if you waited, you would have had this little time where you might have been able to save a little money. And if you waited a little longer, trying to wait for it to get even better, you would have ended up paying a point and a quarter higher than what you paid.
Yeah, and it's just so illustrative of the message that we're trying to get people to understand, which is like the interest rate should not be what is making your decision for you. Like, you're a buyer because of things that are happening in your life. Fred had, I don't know if he was forced to do it at that moment in time, but it was like, this is a good time to make these changes. Let's figure out what it looks at. And the analysis was, can I get a home that checks my boxes at a payment that, I can tolerate or is affordable? So it's not gonna be like, oh, the lowest payment possible, but it's a payment that I'm comfortable with. Right. And that's what we ask people to do every time we're in here on a Saturday. It's like, you have to. So whether you're a buyer or a seller is not dependent on interest rates. It's not dependent on pricing. It's dependent on like what's happening in your life, right? For most of us, right? We're not like real estate investors where we're making moves, buying 3-4 homes a year, that type of thing. It's like, this is the home you're going to live in. Can you get into something that works? And it's okay to sit around and wait and to like contemplate what are the rates going to be in September, October. But if you haven't like gone through the formal process of seeing where you stand as a buyer, there's no way for you to be ready to pounce when the moment is right. So you have to like do that legwork. So then when the moment's right, and you can put the numbers together and see if it works. But the decision is, can I get a house that works for me at a payment that's comfortable?
That's it.
That's
exactly.
And Fred did it, and it's worked out for him. And there's some people where they'll be on the opposite. Like, they bought some year, and then 2 years later, it's like, well, my home hasn't increased in value. Okay. 10 years from then, what about then? What about 15 years? What about 5 years? Like, it's just so hard to predict.
And I think I went back to when we started the show in 2012, and I think we had only 1 year that didn't have appreciation in South Florida.
Yeah.
So like, the long term, it's kind of like the stock market, to a certain extent, it naturally goes up over time usually, and you're going to have the down markets too for corrections and things like that. And I think we're going to be going through one right now. We're going to be talking about that a little bit later. But in the long run, real estate in Florida has always been a very safe bet to place your money, right? You're usually not going to lose. It's very rare if you're going to lose it. So I'm really glad, Fred. I always love the anniversary calls because people aren't expecting it.
Yeah.
They don't have any idea. It's like, hey, do you know you bought your house 2 years ago today? I did. Congratulations, right? It's nice when I call like the 5 years.
Yeah.
Right. Hey, you've been in your house 5 years now. You join it. Blah blah blah. Congratulations. Like 5 years.
Fred, you didn't forget to file your homestead exemption, did you?
No. I think you called us on that, Fred. Right? Didn't you call us when you bought it?
I did. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. No, I did it first. I screwed that up at first, but then I went back and I fixed my homestead, and I got my tax portability, which don't lose sight of that if you're moving from a previous house to another house in the county. That worked out great.
In the state, anywhere in the state.
Here's the bottom line. You were saying the PITI is very, very manageable for me, and that 20% interest I've already accrued in the 2 years I've owned it. Let's say it's even 15% if you wanted to go lowball. Way offsets any of 1-2%. Like, I would have wasted if I waited. So what you're telling, you're not just preaching to the choir here. It's true. It's absolutely true.
Yeah. We're not trying to sell you on advertising on the show. We're trying to tell you what's happening in the market, to use real life experiences and try to relate to what you need. So if you hear something that's striking a chord with you, you have more questions, we're one phone call away. 888-973-7828.
You find it at FloridaTalkRealEstate.com. I think if you listen to this show at all, it's glaring examples of how we're just not selling. We've talked about John Candy, Richard Pryor. We've talked about football. We've talked about clown murders,
Olympics.
Right? So this is not. We're informational and giving an understanding that there are real, true pros that are available for you if you're looking to buy, sell, everything in between. It's FloridaTalkRealEstate.com. But this is not a hard sell. This is a when you're ready. And Fred knows. You might get a phone call every now and then, but
I'm just a testimonial that I'm pointing that out. It's not a hard sell. It's just you guys are like friends to me now. I swear, it's just a great thing.
Awesome.
Yeah, we have to go out. We have to go out.
Everything you've done.
We have to go out for drinks downtown Lake Worth again soon, Fred. Okay.
Nice.
I'm up. Absolutely. Give me a call. Let's do it.
Awesome, man. Thank you for calling. Have a happy Saturday.
Yeah, man.
Okay.
Congrats.
Hey, I will. Thank you all. Good talking to you, Johnny. See everybody. Take care. Thank you very much.
See you, Fred. Dude. Appreciate you. I'm going to be 10 years in my house in September.
No way.
Wow.
2014. That's right. September 2014.
Yeah.
Wow. I found your video where you had the keys to the house when you bought it. I think I'm going to throw it back on Facebook on your anniversary.
I got that video stashed in our little hard drive somewhere.
You know what I saw recently, and I'm just saying this for some people that listen to the show that are just huge CZR fans. There's a guy named Paul. He had called me up. He's another realtor that used to work for a company, and he was like, "Hey," and he just called me out of the blue. I'm like, "Hey, Paul, I haven't talked to you in a while." And he's like, "Yeah, I've been thinking about this, and I was wondering, how's Dr. Rich and Dr. Glenn doing?" Right? Because he's like big time Love Doctor fans. And I said, I don't know. I'll ask around, but it's hard for me to know because, they moved out of the area. And I just saw a Facebook post about 2 weeks ago where Dr. Glenn was at Dr. Rich's house in Louisiana saying hello.
Awesome.
And I thought that was pretty cool.
That is
so
cool.
I let Paul know, hey, everybody's doing okay.
Yeah, good to know.
Yeah, pretty cool. Hey, we're going to take a break. On the flip side, we're going to talk about this market report. And also, we're going to talk about foreclosures and short sales. And I'm seeing a little bit of a maybe
skyrocket,
tiny bit of a trend there.
Huh.
And it's going to be kind of interesting to talk about that on the flip side.
Very good. 4-minute break. We get back at it. Plenty of time still remaining on a Saturday. We'll get you till 11. If you want to be involved in the conversation, don't hesitate. 877-927-6969. Always remember, Florida Talk Real Estate is a .com. You got the hotline there as well. 888-973-7828. You'll find it all. FloridaTalkRealEstate.com, including this team of pros, experts in their field. You get them all. One-stop real estate shop is FloridaTalkRealEstate.com. 4 minutes from now, we're back at it. Florida Talk Real Estate right here on Real Radio.
No one gives a big warm hug like us when you need it. Come on, get in here. Tell your smart device to play Real Radio 92.1 on iHeartRadio. What?
Hey, it's your boy Johnny C here, host of Florida Talk Real Estate. They're tops when it comes to helping people buy and sell houses. But Florida Talk Real Estate is so much more than that. For 5 years, I've watched these guys help thousands of our listeners with any real estate need. They couldn't do it without their sponsors, who are experts in their fields. Check it out. Jim DePola, powered by Keller Williams Realty. Their team specializes in helping people sell their house for top dollar, and buyers get great deals on the purchase of their home. That's what they did for me and my family, and I couldn't be happier that I hired them for my real estate transaction. Mike Rauch from the mortgage firm is one of our favorite guests on the show, and he is the mortgage guy. Whether you're looking for a refi or a mortgage to purchase a new home, Mike Rauch will get you the answers you need. The mortgage firm is licensed to do loans in Florida, Alabama, Tennessee, and Georgia, and they have local offices that cover all of South Florida. So if you're thinking about a refi or a new mortgage, go to the mortgage guy, Mike Rauch, and find out what he can do for you. The Mortgage Firm, Inc., NMLS 189233, Florida license MLD 78, equal housing lender. The law office of Paul A. Krasker has been specializing in real estate law for nearly 25 years and has the professional team you need. Upside down with your house, Paul's team can help you conduct short sales, loan modifications, even if you're behind on payments. They also help you with foreclosure defense and bankruptcy. They can even help you get a student loan modification and repair your credit to get the score you need. Paul's full-service team has helped thousands of our listeners, and they can help you too. Trident Title LLC is the largest privately owned title company in Florida. When you need a title company to complete a refi, home purchase, or sale, Trident Title has got you covered. Not only do they offer competitive pricing, Trident Title has attorneys on staff to make sure if you have bumps in the road declaring title that you can get the job done. Beware, Not all title companies in Florida have attorneys on staff. Trident Title does and complies with all the new federal regulations released last year. Ross Camaronets, owner of Brightway Insurance, has been helping our listeners get great rates on homeowners insurance plans. Haven't checked your homeowners insurance policy in a while? This is a great way to help reduce your monthly mortgage payment. Ross can also help with renters and auto insurance. Ross is only a phone call away and can usually get the answers you need same day.
Call Ross today at 561-425-6228 or drop by his office at 873 Donald Ross Road in Juno Beach.
So now you know why I'm happy to be part of the Florida Talk Real Estate Show, the longest running real estate show in Florida. And all these sponsors are just a phone call or a click away. Just call 888-973-7828. That's 888-973-7828. Or go to floridatalkrealestate.com. That's floridatalkrealestate.com. And don't forget to use the most accurate search engine to find your new home or ask for a free home valuation because floridatalkrealestate.com has you covered. That's floridatalkrealestate.com.
From the Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys Studios.
Have you been in an accident? Call Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys at 1-800-747-FREE.
That's 1-800-747-3733.
Real Radio 92.1 is WZZR West Palm Beach, an iHeartRadio station.
Listen on your free iHeartRadio app for all your music, radio, and podcasts. Free never sounded so good. This is Florida Talk Real Estate with Jim DePola and Johnny C. Got a question for the show? Call us live at 1-877-927-6969.
Say it again, 877-927-6969. Toll free. If you dial it up, you'll get the phone answered by Jimothy, our producer extraordinaire. What's up, my dude?
Hello, and a good morning. Yeah, we're still morning.
Yep, still is. Absolutely. Johnny C, well, that's me. Mike Rauch is with us. He's the mortgage guy from the mortgage firm. Hello, Michael.
Hi. Good
Always
morning.
Pleasure.
Yeah, of course.
And Jimmy D's here, too. Told you that for 12 plus years now because he's our fearless leader. That's right. Jim DePola runs the top producing Keller Williams team, Florida Home Pros team at Keller Williams Innovations. Jimmy D, how you be?
Getting younger every day.
That's what's up.
That's what I tell myself.
As long as you feel that way, it's true.
Exactly.
You found De Leon's Fountain of Youth, did you?
Yeah.
Johnny, you should get your camera to look at you, I think.
Oh, is it? Okay, hold on.
You just got to force it and then hold it.
Oh.
Whoa. Gentle, Jim. Gentle. There it is. There he goes.
Sorry about that.
Why
guys.
was it all on the other side?
I think it
It's on
followed you
tracking.
out, and then
Because you
it
got
followed
you out.
you snuck back in the back door, probably.
Yeah.
You came over here.
The back door man.
That's how I sneak in that way always. Oh, so the camera
The old
follows
Ze-
me?
Do you know that line
Yeah.
from the Led Zeppelin song?
Wait, which song? I'm pretty good at Led Zeppelin. What line were you talking
Where
about?
he's like, I want to be your back door man.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Whole Lot of Love.
Yeah,
I
Whole Lot
just
of Love.
listened
There
to
you
it
go.
last night. Whole Lot of Love. I just listened last
Now,
last
did it
night.
mean the same thing when he wrote it as like maybe modern, or just like no, I'm the guy who comes in through the back and like sneaks in and out, right?
Well, it was Led Zeppelin. It could be whatever you wanted. to be.
Okay, yeah,
Might not have meant
That's
that back
one of
in
my
those days.
favorite-
yeah, right. He
The
just
back
meant
door.
he's like yeah.
I
doesn't-
just
doesn't
turned
come
that
through the
on
front door.
driving back from Hollywood yesterday. and
Really?
it just
You
cranked
jammed
it.
out?
I cranked it. I love that song because there's so much
You were like Tom
audio
Cruise
going on. There's so much different
Free
things
falling.
happening in that song.
Oh, yeah. John Bonham's the man.
yeah, that.
of course.
Yeah, I didn't really appreciate Led Zeppelin when I should have. When I older, I became more appreciative of them, and now I'm really appreciative. I really like it.
I kind of my dad was always a classic rock
Mm-hmm.
guy, and so you would hear that stuff, but probably it was middle school where you started like when you hit the Led Zeppelin albums, like you actually started listening to those CDs. Well, it was CDs
Like
for
for
us,
real,
right?
yeah.
And I was like, oh wow, this is where it's at.
Yeah.
This camera is the coolest thing ever, by the way. I don't know. I was
You didn't notice that.
slightly
You
distracted
never
by
knew
that thing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it actually moves around.
It does.
with you.
Yeah, you should have never told me that.
Now he's stuck. He's like fixated
Should
on
have
it.
never told me that.
You remember when you were like bent over messing with the bag over
What?
there, whatever you were? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Nice.
Backdoor man.
Sweet. Did you
Here we go.
being your classic rock guy, did you go to Foreigner and Sticks?
No. I don't.
Yeah?
I'm not like a concert guy typically.
That was a
Yeah.
great show.
Yeah,
we
I'm sure.
actually
it would be.
we back to back that week. We had 3 shows in 2 weeks. We did the Sammy show.
Yeah.
Who's got, speaking of
you went to that
bottoms,
one?
we got, I don't miss Sammy.
Jason.
I don't
Okay.
miss Sammy.
Okay.
But that was Best of All Worlds. They were doing a collection of like older Van Hagar songs.
Yep.
And they didn't play enough Van Halen, like older Van Halen.
Oh, no.
They got Satriani and guitar and
Mhm.
John
Wow.
Bonham drumming. Who's with the Circle always.
Jason.
But Satriani, Jason, yes.
Yeah.
Jason is phenomenal,
Yeah.
obviously.
Yeah.
But Satriani, man, oh man, did he capture Eddie Van Halen's tone? Still
Really?
made it his own, but he captured that tone phenomenally. And I just left there going, yeah, he's one of the best guitar players in the world.
Got it.
Yeah,
had
he's got it.
We had Sammy and Michael Anthony on doing an interview just before that,
Sure.
obviously to promote that show. And he had told us in that interview that they had just gotten a fifth guy, and
He does keyboards and
hasn't had
guitar.
a keyboard guy in the longest time. So that was what was really cool. I think he's from Australia, if I'm not mistaken.
So they don't
And,
want to play with
and-
tracks. They
right.
don't want to play with tracks.
Right.
And if they can avoid playing with tracks, they're gonna. So they
Mhm.
added this. This guy's
Yeah.
he's been touring with Satriani for years.
Right.
But he's on keyboard, does some guitar playing,
Yeah.
and does really phenomenal backing vocals. So with Mike and that new dude, and I don't know his name, but he's amazing. I stood and applauded him for 10 minutes. At the end of the show.
Where was this?
But you
It
gotta
was at
have
the amphitheater.
Oh, okay.
It was phenomenal. The range of the vocals were there, and again, the tone for Eddie was spot. What a great! We're the first of the tour. I'm sure they're even better now.
Oh yeah, started.
Yeah,
here in West Palm.
so whenever it's a start, they're better 2 weeks later.
Yeah.
but it was still great.
Working out the kinks.
And then the next week, we took the family to see Janet Jackson.
Wow.
That's
Oh,
a
Janet
Jackson
Jackson.
on stage. What an amazing show!
Really? Like, I was wondering because she's
Holy
older now. I was
crap.
wondering, she's looking good?
So I was expecting a ton of tracks, and I was okay
Right.
with it. I'm like,
Yeah.
as long as it's good. You could tell when the tracks were in play. It was probably 10% of the time. She sang 90% of it and did like 3 hours of amazing.
Wow, that's
That was-
awesome.
Yeah. And
That's
then
cool.
the night after
That's
that
cool.
was 400 Sticks.
What's she doing? Is it like she didn't have like a new album, right? It's just all
So
hits?
she does. It's actually she broke the show into 4 parts, and it's like the eras.
Oh, she
Pre
went-
Rhythm Nation, then
She
Rhythm
did
Nation.
it all.
and-
Yeah, we went back to the first album. I mean, it was I was all in my feels for that show, and that
Wow.
was clearly a Jackson up there. Like, is no denying. You're like, that's a legend on
Yeah.
stage.
I don't know if if you would have said, "Hey, is Johnny going to go see the Janet Jackson concert this year?" I don't know if I would have bet on that.
A whole family.
Johnny's
Wow.
very eclectic. I
Yeah.
was listening a couple weeks ago, and I forgot. We didn't hook up on that Saturday, right? Either the show was canceled or something. But I was driving around, and I know you're a Christopher Cross guy, which
Oh,
I
yeah.
don't really think of you as a Christopher Cross guy.
Sailing,
for
Sailing's
whatever.
one of the best songs
Yeah,
ever
it's
written.
like, how can
And
you?
I don't
not
know,
be?
but I just didn't think
I
Johnny
used to
was.
sing that on the radio all the time.
And there was one where it was Christopher Cross and Michael McDonald singing a song together. Michael McDonald played for everybody in the 80s, right?
Sure.
Like he was like the background singer for everybody,
Yeah.
right? And they had the two songs. I'm like, wow, you can't get more like 80s than Christopher Cross with Michael McDonald
That's
singing.
it. That's like the
Yeah.
epitome of.
I don't
80s.
remember what the song was though. I wanted to tell you about it though, because I was like thinking of you.
Yeah, and like a couple weeks ago, I'm listening to some Chuck Mangione.
Oh,
Am I
yeah,
saying
Chuck
that right?
Mangione,
Little
yeah.
Herb Alpert.
Yeah. Or
that's-
about Tijuana Bass, man.
Oh, it's so good. Like you just put that on. Like you're not disappointing anybody.
Yeah.
It's just feel good music. I listened to like what was it? Something on our Amazon feed the other day, and I'm like, why is this popping up? And the wife goes, it's because of you. Yeah, it's 100% because of you.
Right. That's funny.
Does "Ride Like the Wind" sound like the right song?
No.
No?
I
Oh,
know
that's-
Ride Like the Wind. No,
but
this
that's got-
wasn't.
got
That's
McDonald.
a classic Christopher Cross song.
And Michael McDonald.
And Michael
Oh,
McDonald.
McDonald's was
Yeah.
on Ride with the
Yeah.
Wind.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh, so I heard some other one then. Hey, I wanted to. We're going to continue about what's happening in the real estate market. Now, here's Inman News. Inman News is it's kind of an industry news organization for real estate and mortgages and things like that. It isn't really so much for the general public. It's more an industry thing, but they really do keep a pulse of what's happening in the country. And here's their headline. Economists predict big slowdown in home price appreciation. As for sale listings continue to surge, many would-be homebuyers are still having trouble finding properties that they can afford. Prices are already coming down in some markets. Now listen to this. In the Sun Belt, this is the biggest drops right now, is the Sun Belt.
What's the Sun Belt?
Yeah,
The
what
Sun
is-
Belt, well, let me get there. Hold on, because
It's like the Bible Belt, just a little more there, more to the sun.
Yeah. So listen to this. Like, oh wait, I'm sorry. Hold on.
Waiting.
I'm looking here.
You're trying to find what the Sun Belt is?
Yeah, here. Okay. The biggest areas where we're seeing real price depreciation right now: New Orleans, -6%; Austin, 4.6% down; San Antonio, 2.7%; Birmingham, 0.6%. Not a big deal, right? But we're starting to see significant price depreciation in some of these markets. It's coming to Florida, okay? It is not, we are not protected. I am so tired of hearing people saying, "Oh, well, everybody's coming down here, so we don't have to worry about this. We're insulated." And we have been for years and years and years. But just because we went through that trend for a period of time doesn't mean that trend lasts forever. And right now, the people up north have put the skids to coming down here. The great majority of them, we're not seeing the flood like we used to because they're hearing price affordability, insurance issues, hurricanes, heat, all of this stuff, right? Taxes, right? All of this stuff.
Taxes.
Insurance crisis more than the tax. When you say taxes are a good reason to come down here.
Well,
Right.
I mean, as far as property.
Oh yeah, property taxes. Yeah. So all of that stuff. Yeah, and they do get shocked, Jimmy. You're right, because they read the current person's property taxes, and then when they hear how it's going to be reset for them when they buy, they're like, "Holy moly, I didn't know my."
But I guess also property taxes compared to other areas.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't have sales tax, so they got to.
Yeah.
How do they fund the government?
Yeah, exactly. So we're going to start going through price depreciation. I think it's going to be coming to us too. We're not going to be insulated, is my prediction. Now, a couple of things they said in here that I think is really interesting is that, listen to this. They said the National Association of Realtors reported last Tuesday, that June home sales were down 5.4% a year ago, right? So we're down 5% for the amount of people buying houses.
June this year to June last year.
Yeah,
Okay.
compared to a year ago. We're down 5.4% from this June compared to sales last June. But the median sales price in the nation went up. Price was up 4.1% compared to last June.
So these are national numbers.
Yeah, these are national numbers. An all-time high of 462,900 for the median single-family home in the United States. When we started this show, we were barely at 200.
Wow.
When we started the show 12 years ago. Now it's 1.5 times higher. And then now let's look at our market. Our market is worse than the national market. Listen to this.
Worse in what way?
I'll show you. Palm Beach County.
Every way. Mike.
Okay, so sales are down nationally 5.4%. In Palm Beach County, sales are down 11.1%.
Year to
So
year,
we're double what the national is right now. We're
Double the down.
Double the down.
Doubling down.
Right? Last year we sold last June 2023, we sold 1,428 single-family homes in Palm Beach County. This month, this June, 1,269. Okay.
What were the numbers again?
1,428 and 1,269.
Okay.
Okay. So that's 11.1% drop. Paid in cash, we're down 11% for cash buyers. Okay. Median sales price. Last June, we were at 625. Our all-time record last year was 650. All-time record ever was 650 median sales price. Then it fluctuated. We never went over 650. Well, we've gone 650 3 times now, guys, because we just hit 659. Last month was 650. We're at 659. Actually, 659,999. So we're at 660 is where we are.
How much is that above last June, price-wise?
625. So that is a 5.6% increase. Now, nationally, we're looking at 6.9%.
So we're
increase.
We're 11% down on volume of sales
Total
year,
sales.
but almost 6% higher.
Is that crazy?
Would say it's bizarro world.
This bizarre world. That's why I'm saying it's unbelievable. Before I used to say it was defying gravity. What goes up must go up. The interest rate's going up and the price kept going up, right?
Yeah.
And it's kind of, we're not seeing any decrease in the prices yet, but the amount of price drops that I'm seeing on the MLS.
That's the part that's got me, because we've talked about it and I see it. I talk to agents, and I think a lot of agents are saying the homes are taking longer to sell,
Mm-hmm.
right? They're just taking, the days on market is longer. price reductions, or at least considering price reductions in order to get it to move. And so I hear that a lot, not just on this show, like from a lot of agents. And so I'm surprised that the price went up.
Yeah.
We're at a new peak,
but it
seems a little crazy.
So it just, and I read something else this week that ties right into this for another part of the equation. Clearly, the homes that are in great shape, super desirable, and priced to go, they have a high market price. They're going.
Yep.
This
right.
is, I'm trying to make sense of it. I'm thinking along these lines.
I read this week, maybe 10 days ago, that there's I think the number was 11% pop in buyers backing out of their contracts. And the inspection phase is the phase where it normally happens, but at these really premium price points where the interest rates, where they feel like they're stretched to their limit, the slightest little thing in the inspection reports, they said they've seen an 11% pop, and they're talking Florida, in buyers getting out of their contracts.
That's a good
That's
stat.
a big number.
It is, and
that's 1 in 10.
And the buyers are walking away losing money doing that. Now, hopefully, they're not losing a lot, because hopefully they got a good agent and their inspection period is really solid, right? And they go walk away.
So they did the inspection, and that was it.
Right, but still, they're doing the inspections. That's cost them anywhere probably from $500 to $1,000, depending if they have a pool and a septic tank and some other things.
But if you have a motivated seller who's having contract back out, you know what you're going to do next? Price drop.
Absolutely. Or you're going to cave in. You're going to cave in with
and do some
And
negotiating.
that kind of gets into like what's attractive for buyers right now. And I think, I don't know if you're talking about this yet, but some of the things that you can get from the sellers as a buyer can really make a difference to your bottom line, as far as either your payment or your cash out of pocket, which are very, very important, pieces of the puzzle for buyers.
I'm going to be creating videos after the show today, promoting some of our properties. So like, we have a property on the market that's at $475, right? It's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, single family home, CBS construction. It has a newer roof, newer AC, newer electrical panel, because it's a 1960s house, but impact windows everywhere.
What does the S stand for in CBS? Concrete
block
structure?
Isn't it? Wait, cinder block.
Oh, cinder block.
It's usually
Concrete
called
block.
cinder,
Okay.
concrete or cinder block, and I think it's structure.
Okay.
I think you're right. I
That's
think
what
it's
I
structure.
always thought it was a concrete block structure.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm pretty sure. So the house, the owner is offering $10,000 to the buyer to use what they want as a seller concession, right? So Mike and I, or actually Mike, calculated this for us, and it was really helpful. If somebody were to offer $10,000, a drop in price of $10,000 on that house, they'd be saving like $70 a month if they get the seller to go from $475 to $465, right? But if they took that same $10,000 and bought it at $475 and got a credit, and then had the mortgage broker use that money to buy down the interest rate, they could drop the interest rate by about a point, right? The prevailing interest rate by a point.
Yeah.
So just let's say that the prevailing interest rate today is 7%, just round it off.
Yep.
You can get a 6% interest rate and a savings of about $320 a month on your mortgage payment.
That's amazing.
So instead
mentioned
of
that last
dropping the
week.
price, if you take that same price drop and put it towards the down, buying down the interest rate, you're saving so much money over the 30-year mortgage. It's stupid not to do that, compared to just to take the $70 a month savings. And then if you don't want either of those two things, you could still use the $10,000 to say, hey, I want to use this to pay for my down payment and closing costs, right? So let's say on the $475,000 deal, let's just say that you have $23,000, depending on what you're putting down and everything, $23,000 down for your total down to get into the house. And you get 10 from the buyer. Now you only have to come up with $12,000. Am I saying everything about right, Mike? Or you
Kind of, yeah.
You don't like the 22 on 475? I
No,
saw your face.
You were doing 5%, so that's fine. So
Yeah.
technically, so I'm like, well, you can't really do it that way. But the
That's
the
what I'm
credit
asking.
that you get from the seller can't be towards your down payment, but can cover your closing costs.
Wait, I thought you can get up to 5% for the down payment, to pay for the down payment.
You can get so it's not 5%. So there's so you can get a seller credit. So let's just start there. Any money that comes from other parties, right? So whether it's a lender credit, a seller credit, a real estate agent credit, that money can be used towards closing costs and prepaids, not towards your down payment requirement, right? So if you're doing a loan at 5% down, your cash requirement is the down payment at 5% plus closing costs.
Closing costs.
So the credit you get from other parties, or what they call interested parties, can contribute towards your closing costs, but not towards your minimum down payment requirement.
And that's the same for FHA?
That's the same for FHA.
I thought FHA had a max of 5%.
It's 6%.
Okay.
IPC, so interested party contributions. But that 6%, that interested party contribution can't go towards your down payment requirement because it can cover the other costs, the closing costs and the prepaid.
Okay, I thought that was like that for FHA, but that with the conventional, you could use it for the down payment too. You can't.
You can't.
Okay. So what you would do is you would use it for the closing costs,
and
right? If there was any money left over,
yeah,
you just have that left over at the thing, and you could use it for repairs on the house.
Yeah, and you
or
can
just
use it
shove
towards
in your
buying
pocket.
down your rate, because buying down the rate via points, right? You're paying points is a cost. It's not part of your down payment, right? So you're kind of like increasing your closing costs by buying down the interest rate.
Right.
Now, the down payment assistance programs can be used to cover your down payment requirement.
Oh, while we're doing this, while I'm
45
talking,
million.
Oh, you already did. Thank you, Mike. Oh, he's so awesome. Okay, so what we're talking about is the Hometown Heroes program. They put out another 100 million. I think it was July 1st.
It's been about a month.
It's been about a month that
We're
they've
4
been
weeks into the program. It started 100. We're now down to 45 million.
out. Okay,
reserved.
Right. So there's only 45 million yet left, and it's a really great program. If you need that money, it's a great program. You got to take advantage of it, because last year, once it was gone, it was pretty much gone. Now, unless you have a great guy like Mike who keeps checking to see deals that fell apart, that money goes back into the coffer after it's been expired, and then you could grab it if you're sharp.
I think if we were just we had one like baseline prediction, which was last year, and so it was about 30 million in the first week, and then it was about 10 million a week after that. So I think we're actually a little bit
down,
less than that, right? So 30 million first week. And then we've had 3 weeks, so we should have been about 40 million left, and we're at 45 million left. So it's a little bit slower, and I think that's just a sign of what's happening in the market, right? Just there aren't as many buyers out there right now. Although if you're, again, I'm like repeating this message over and over. I think it's so important. If you're a buyer, you got to be in a position to take advantage of these things when they present themselves. And so this money is going to run out at some point. That's not the end of the world for somebody. You don't have to wait till next year.
The sellers are going to get stronger again, and they're not going to offer stuff they're offering now.
But this particular program is for somebody that's buying a home for the first time in 3 years, right?
Yeah. So you cannot have owned a primary residence, so a home where you lived, in the last 3 years.
Right.
So if you had an investment home, or maybe a home that you're entitled to, like a family home or something like that, it's okay.
So there's a bunch of quote unquote buyers out there that just can't tap into this, unfortunately.
You have to be, they call it first time home buyer. So the rule is
the people that mostly can are the ones that are selling a house and then going to buy another house right away. Right. Those people are all
this is great
blocked
for
out.
You've been renting and you're like, man, this is my chance to get into homeownership.
This is I know it sounds against the grain, but this really is a good time to buy, people. If you're thinking about buying, you really got to pick up the phone and give us a call to talk to us.
It's not against the grain. It is. It's the best time to buy is when it's right for your family. It's always been the case. But we talked to Fred earlier, 2 years in his home. If you're just joining now, Fred was the success story in our first hour. 2 years in his home. He had everybody in his life, again, not in the market, not in the understanding real estate, telling him he was at high fives on the percent when he locked in his home 2 years ago, and how much
was the highest
in
like 4 years,
almost 20% equity now in 2 years. Everybody's telling him this is the worst time to buy. Why are you buying one? So you say against the grain, against the uninformed, ignorant grain.
Well, that's true.
And again, ignorant just means you don't know. I know it sounds so negative.
Not stupid, just ignorant.
I didn't say stupid. I said ignorant. It's that uninformed, ignorant grain. Yes. But against the real grain where that tide is going, it's a good time to buy if it's right for your family. I'm closing in on getting all my details lined up for Mike to be like, here's what we can afford. Why, if it's not a great time to buy, why would they be doing that? I'm here every Saturday with pros. You'd be like, guy, it's not your time, Johnny.
I just had a guy.
Don't do it.
We don't have that talk.
I had a guy, Lee, who bought a house about 2 years ago. Might have been 3. I think it was 2 though. Lee bought out in the acreage. He owns a small business. He needed a detached building, so it's really hard to find those. We got one. Now it needed work, but he's a contractor. He bought it for $555 back then.
Yeah.
I just had to do a BPO so he could drop his PMI.
What's a BPO?
Broker price opinion. It's like an appraisal.
What's PMI?
Yeah, right. PMI is the amount of money you have to do because you don't have 20% equity in the property.
Private mortgage insurance.
Private mortgage insurance. So what I just comped his house. His house is worth $950 to 1.1 3 years after he bought it at $555.
Beautiful.
Did he do
And
some
it's
work?
legit. Yeah, now he put money into it.
Yeah.
But he still has huge equity.
Yeah.
From when he bought 3 years ago. And he was complaining about the interest rates like a lot of people back then. Now his interest rates look like he's a genius compared to today's rates.
Now everyone's waiting for his rate to come back around so he can refi.
Yeah, and they were telling him don't do it back then.
The COVID rates, those rates, they poisoned so many minds, and it's awesome for anybody that took advantage, got a chance to get in there. That's awesome, but that was a disaster.
It was
for a mindset of buyers in the future. Just a disaster.
It was. That's going to have a ripple effect through our whole real estate economy for probably 20 years.
It's amazing.
We're going to be affected by that. Now, here's another interesting thing, and this is another reason why I'm telling you it's a great time to be a buyer. Inventory in Palm Beach County. Now, we got down to less than 1 month of inventory in Palm Beach County. It got that low.
Yeah,
right?
what do we need? 4 months for a
6.
We need 6 months to be a
neutral
market.
Now, here's the other weird part about this market. We're not even close to the neutral market yet. We're only at 4.5 months of inventory. What that means
we're
is
that high though, huh?
We're at 4.5, right? We've gotten much higher.
I feel like 3 months is a better neutral market, at least for us, since in the time that we've been doing this. how often has it been?
6 months or more.
Yeah, like when has it ever been 6 months, right?
Not after 2015.
12 years ago. Yeah.
Not after 2015.
Yeah.
So,
what's the
but check
norm
this out: the inventory.
now?
Over the
norms
last
have changed.
Yeah,
So,
the norms
with
have
interest
changed.
rates and the mindset of that and that type of thing. I mean, the norms really have.
And the appreciation we're seeing is
adjusted.
unheard of since COVID. We've had, when we started the show, it was 3 to 4% appreciation in Florida, and 1 to 3% in the United States was the average appreciation year over year, right? And then we started getting into the double digits, 10, 12, 15% month
Year
over
after year.
And it happened over and over again, and our mouths dropped. And then everybody just thought it was normal, right? We're just going through this weird phase because the interest rates have changed so much. But listen to this: inventory in Palm Beach County, we're up 47.8% from last year.
Wow, that's a big number. So it is fascinating, though. You're talking about how everything changed and perspectives change. Even like the articles that write about quote unquote doomsday type things, they talk about the shift. And it's funny because that shift is, well, your appreciation goes from 13% to 4%. So, well, we're still appreciating though. Like we're appreciating on an average kind of basis. Yes, it's a huge drop off of the appreciation we've had in the last handful of years, but how to view that drop off in appreciation as like doomsday is fascinating, how they wrap their heads around that.
Yeah, it's so true. And the national economists now are predicting. Now, real estate's local, so not every neighborhood's going to be like this, but the overall trend is going to be, they're now trying to predict how low are the prices going to drop.
Huh.
So people are talking somewhere between 5 and 15% is where the national economists are.
From a record high?
Yeah, from where we are, from this record high, which
Right.
has over appreciation, right? True. We had over appreciation, so we're going to go through a correction. If we do get this drop, it's a correction to reset things. And let me tell you, this correction, and the sellers aren't going to like this. But the bottom line is, we need this correction because the buyers, it's so out of kilter right now for buyers about affordability. We need this correction to get some affordability for the buyers right now. And that doesn't mean the sellers are really losing any money. They're just losing extra profit that they got during this crazy frothy period, and we're going to lose some of that froth, but we're not going to go back below, in my opinion, unless something majorly changes. There's no reason to believe we're going to have the crash of 2006 through 2008 in the real estate market.
Yeah.
It just doesn't look like that.
And we're not like, if I'm hearing it right, we're not even really at the point where anybody is, where their home is worth less today than what they paid for it.
We
right?
have
So maybe
record home equity in the United States. We have record numbers for that for the last 3 years.
So I guess if somebody got in at if they really overpaid for a property and then this value
month
started
later.
declining a little bit, right?
Yeah.
But I know I say it. Really, the only time the value of your home matters is if you're trying to
when you're selling,
you're trying to refi or sell it,
or leverage that.
Leverage
refi.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, I saw a sign when I was driving down to Hollywood yesterday, and there was a sign. I didn't see the company.
Your wife is hot?
No,
No.
I know that was
Love
funny.
it.
Every
Love
time you think of that, I think about the lawsuit related to that. But
Was there one?
Oh yeah, there was another company that stole the idea and put it on
Oh.
billboards, and then they sued for infringement, and they won.
My
So-
wife is hotter.
Yeah, exactly. but when I was down in Hollywood, I saw a billboard that said HELOC, right? So right away I looked at it because it said HELOC, and all it said is HELOC, and then it said underneath home equity line of credit, it said vacation, education,
boat,
pay bills or something. I think it was pay bills, education, vacation.
Jeez.
Now, remember Countrywide, that company that was telling everybody, hey, take your equity and go to Europe.
Yeah.
Go buy a Maserati.
You
You got all this
deserve it.
equity. Yeah, and you're going to have appreciation forever. So what do you care?
Yep.
Just go out and use this money for not your house, right? So don't do that, people. Don't start taking your HELOC out and going on vacation, because when we go into a slide where the values are not as high, that's the equity in your house that that's your safety and security for your future. So please don't use it on frivolous things.
I mean, you might as well use it while you got it.
I'm thinking the same thing. I'm like, well, but if I
If it goes away,
and it goes away, there goes my trip to
disappear.
Tahiti.
Right?
Well, take out the HELOC and go to Vegas and bet it on black. God bless you. Go ahead.
I will
do
say,
that.
I do talk to people. I have conversations about home equity. I really don't do the home equity products. I have access to a couple, but they're not like competitive, so I don't talk about them much. But the people that I'm talking to about that are usually in some sort of debt trouble, right? Like, so they're trying to consolidate debt. They're trying to reduce their monthly cost, or they have a project in mind. Like, hey, I just need a chunk of money so that I can do whatever. I got to, redo my driveway, or I got to put a deck on or something. I don't talk to people where they're like, hey, I want to pay off my car with this home equity, or hey, I need to, I got this big vacation coming up. I need to leverage my
Not
house.
yet.
Right.
That could still be happening. But
sure.
I just saw that billboard. I'm like, oh, is this the beginning of the end again?
it's terrible.
It's starting to start.
I think
I don't
usually
think
it goes
will.
something like, well, what do you need? Well, I need 20. But you got access to like 60. You might as well just do the 60
Yeah,
and then
well,
figure out what to do.
if you
with
don't need it, you don't need it.
Little nest egg,
So during the break, just for the heck of it, I pulled up how many foreclosures and short sales we have in the market. I was a little surprised. It isn't gloom and doom, but the reason why I did it was because I have a friend who's thinking about getting a real estate license. He's talking to this realtor from up north, but also like in New York or something, but she also works down here. And she said, oh yeah, you should go get your license. I'm working with a bunch of banks, and I'm going to get in with all the real estate owner foreclosures. And the guy
It's actually a good gig for a listing agent.
Oh
right?
no, it's horrible.
It's horrible. You can't make it like.
I don't recommend it. During the crisis, I saw more realtors go bankrupt because they were REO agents or bank-owned agents. The big problem with that is, Mike, is that when you're an REO agent, you have to take care of the property. It's your responsibility.
Oh.
So you got to take care of the pool, make sure the lawn's cut, make sure that the HOA is taken care of.
Really? The agent is doing all
yes,
that?
you got to secure the pool. If it's like a vacant pool, you got to pay to get the contractors out to cover the pool. You got to pay for any maintenance problems that are happening, like the AC breaks, so you don't have mold in the house. You got to do all of that out of your own pocket.
Wow.
And then when you close, you get your real estate commission. And then back then, you had to fight with the bank to get the money back from the other stuff. And a lot of people took on a ton of foreclosure properties, think they were going to get rich. And then they had to pay all these bills, and then the bank wasn't paying them, and they went under.
Wow.
And the other thing is, you don't get a normal real estate commission because the banks are saying, hey, we're taking a loss. We're giving you business for free. Like, we're just giving it to you, So we want you to work at a reduced commission. No, thank you. I'll
Reduced
pass.
commission, you have to carry all the costs.
Wow.
in
And
the
you
week.
might not get reimbursed for your costs.
Right. And fighting it. Now, I'm talking about the worst foreclosure crisis we ever had since the Great Depression. So maybe it isn't like that today.
Yeah.
But that's the way it was. And I don't want any part of it. Thank you very much.
Wow.
But when we tried to do the foreclosures,
Wow, the banks just avoided all that, didn't they? I didn't even realize that aspect. They just avoided all the yuck of that whole situation they created.
I think they took on a lot of yuck.
They did.
Remember the banks
they had all the zombie
lent
homes.
money where the home was the security for that money, and then the home's value cut in half. So the banks lost out. They did have mortgage insurance coverage on a lot of those.
I remember the toxic loans, which was always hilarious. It's like, well, you have the property.
Yeah, but the property's not worth what they lent on it.
So I looked up the foreclosures in all of South Florida on the MLS. We have over 6,000 homes for sale on the MLS right now. And when we checked it last time, there were like 60 short sales and like 120 foreclosures, right?
Mhm.
We were under 200 total. So I've been checking it once in a while, not every show, but I checked it today. I checked it because of that comment that the realtor said that she's back to do REOs, and the banks are contacting her to get ready for this. So I was thinking maybe she knows something. Maybe there's something happening underneath, like in the industry that we don't know yet. So I went and looked. So the foreclosures we have today is 179. So it is up about 30% from the last time I checked. Right
Okay.
now, we're talking 179 properties out of 6,000, but it isn't going down. It's going up. And the cheapest foreclosure right now for sale is in Hunter's Run, which is in Boynton Beach, Florida. It is a membership equity community, and you can buy this unit. It's on the market. It's a foreclosure for $5,000. That's what they're offering. It's been on the market for
Is that a bidding
85
situation?
days at $5,000.
Well, what's the membership equity?
105,000. Right?
It's a good deal for
You have to
somebody.
pay 105,000 for the membership equity. It's a 2-2. It's almost 1,400 square feet. Let's see what this looks like.
Why is it $5,000?
Because you have to pay the $105,000 in membership equity.
Is that like a bidding thing? Like, hey, we're taking bids starting at $5,000.
Well,
like an auction?
It could be, but the house has been on the market 85 days, so I don't think that bidding thing is working so well. The house is in excellent condition. I'm looking at the photos now. It's in really
probably
good
a
condition.
typo.
What's the catch?
Like you call that agent, and he's like, no, it's supposed to be 500,000.
It's the
500. No.
Can't rent it. Like, there's got to be something.
Oh yeah, you're not going to be. There's rental restrictions and other things because it's a very robust community. It's a great place. Now let's see. It says here, buyer's agent must pay $175 to the management company.
Oh,
Let's
that's no
see.
way.
HOA
No
figures.
way.
Oh,
There it
the
is. That's
HOA on this is $738 a month. So besides the $105,000 to get a membership equity in the community, you have to pay $738 a month.
And that's annual, right? You pay that every year?
No, that's
105K?
no, that's the
No, that's an
the-
initial fee.
to become a member of the. It's a golf course community, I'm sure.
What's
right?
what's the annual membership?
Probably like 20.
Okay.
17 to
Yeah,
20
something
would be
like
my
that.
guess.
Yeah. And then the buyer also has to pay a 5% commission to the buyer's agent as part of buying the property, right? So the cheapest one right
5%
now
on 5,000.
Yeah, I know. Isn't that funny? And they started out originally at $159,000 on this house, and then it went into foreclosure.
Yeah.
So the second lowest foreclosure is also in Boynton Beach. Who would have thought of this? It's a small unit. It's $38,250. There's no membership equity. The HOA though is $1,400. Oh no, there is a membership equity, $86,000. And then you have to pay $1,400 a month for the HOA afterwards, and it's $38,000 for the unit. So that means $1,400 a month. You're paying 50% of the purchase price of the unit every year just for the HOA
Just
fee.
to live there.
Just to live there, right?
Yep.
So anyway, there's a bunch of properties that are coming up on the market for foreclosures. Now, what is also interesting is short sales. Now, what's the difference between a short sale and a foreclosure? The short sale, the owner still owns the property, but they're trying to sell it for less than what is owed as payment in full. So let's say you owe $350 to the bank, but you only can get a $250 offer, and you go to the bank and say, hey, I need to sell it, but I can't sell it for what I owe. Will you take the 250 as full and let me walk away from the debt? That's what a short sale is. There are 67 short sales right now. When we checked last time, there were 69. So short sales
it's going down,
flat.
sliding.
Yeah, too, right? But so that's pretty flat. But the foreclosures are increasing, which I think is interesting. The reason why I think the short sales are flat, people have equity in their home. I'm doing a deal right now. I don't want to talk about it, but I have one property that's in foreclosure right now, and they're fighting a foreclosure. So we're selling the house, but we have enough money to cover the bank and pay all the bills. So even though that we're selling it almost like a short sale, everybody's going to be paid off. Nobody's losing money that's owed to them, right?
We just like to educate. So that one, they're in a positive equity position. They can do a straight sale. How did it get to foreclosure, the state of foreclosure? And what could they have done anything different to avoid getting to where they're at now?
Well, let's take a look at this one community because it's a community I know pretty well. I helped somebody sell a property over here. It's a short sale. They have it at 290. It's a 2-2. It's a 2-bedroom, 2.5 condo townhome. It's those Bergen DeVossa like my mom got, Mike, with the little balconies at the top, and it has a little courtyard in the front. They're asking 290 for this. And what is?
But I meant the one that you were talking about that were in foreclosure, but they're not upside down. Like, how did they get to that state?
Oh,
why did they let it get into foreclosure versus just selling before that?
Because in that case, it's an estate sale, and the family doesn't have the wherewithal to pay all the condo fees. So the condo is the one that's foreclosing, not the mortgage.
That's exactly what I thought when you talked about the increase in foreclosures. I was like, I wonder what percentage of these are, sadly, families
HOA.
losing members, right?
Oh.
And they just can't afford the carry costs, and it slips in naturally through an estate situation.
Some of those might be reverses.
At least one.
Yeah.
Reverse foreclosure.
And so I don't know. Maybe this is the beginning, because what I've always said is if you want to see price depreciation, if you're waiting, if that's what you're waiting for as the buyer, keep an eye. Don't worry about the Fed. Keep an eye on the unemployment rate. That's what I've always said. And the unemployment rate has gone up a point in the last 6 weeks. It has gone a full point up. Now, we're still historically low what we need. From what I understood back in Clinton, because Clinton was the last time that we had unemployment rates this low. Right. And I think we're even lower than Clinton now, but Clinton was the lowest before then. And people were complaining because we were under 4.5% unemployment, and all the economists that's not healthy. We need to have some unemployment going on so people can move from job to job. And they all were saying you got to be at least at 4.5%. If you're at 6%, it was too high. Right. But 4.5% was the sweet spot. We're at 4.1 right now.
I was going to say just over 4.
Yeah.
Well,
so
allegedly.
we're actually in but we've increased by a whole point, and a point on employment is about 1.2 million jobs. So that's 1.1 to 1.2 million people that lost their jobs in the last, last 6 weeks or so.
It's the restaurant
so
business.
We'll
I'm
see.
telling you, keep
You
your
think
eye on.
so?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah,
I think it's real estate after restaurant after restaurant.
Yeah, it might be real estate.
It's not real estate agents, Johnny.
It's that service industry. They're getting crushed.
But in our industry, definitely there has been cutbacks in workforce, right? So lending, real estate, for sure. Support positions in real estate, especially. Think about even in your office, Jim.
Yes,
there's been some shuffling around of.
The offices are pretty empty.
The support staff for the agents, right, that work at the office. Yeah.
Most of the offices are pretty empty right now. I go to a lot of Keller Williams offices because I travel all over. This week, I was all the way to Vero Beach, and I was down in Hollywood.
They're not buzzing with activity?
No, and a lot of the bigger teams have scaled back and aren't in the office anymore. They don't even have an office. They just work out of the house to save money. Yeah. Everybody's in a down mode right now, trying to save money and reduce costs, because the sales are so slow right now.
So we're in it's this damned if you do, damned if you don't situation. It's just the way it is.
Mm-hmm.
So we need consumer spending to slow so we can tamper inflation. And they're I guess semi-happy with it. Consumer spending's down, but it still runs rampant. And the thing that happens when people spend less is you see the corporations instantly react to cutting hours, trimming workforce, and it's all industries, whether you're going to the grocery store or, well, some it's still a pleasure to shop. Calling you out, Publix. And some you're like, man, this is a ghost town. Nobody works here.
Yeah.
Restaurants and all the way through your industry, you're talking about it. My industry,
your home stores.
We go 2 weeks with the numbers not quite where they are. We start trimming hours. It's 2 weeks.
Really?
Instant reaction. Start trimming hours. People, when they have, I need every dollar I make in order to make my monthly nut, and you start trimming hours, you know what happens? They quit.
Yeah.
They get a new job, but that adds to the unemployment numbers. So it's not always like, firing. It can be reactionary stuff too, because every corporation instantly reacts now.
It's a
2 week
true.
slowdown. You're trimming hours.
And
Crazy.
you and I, Johnny, believe very strongly that there's a lot of people out there living paycheck to paycheck. So
gosh.
lose a couple of paychecks, that is party over.
Can't do it anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm not trying to be doom and gloom at all.
No.
We just had the
facts.
GDP was 4.2 or something. I just read. Right. It was in the fours.
Yep.
GDP for the quarter.
Right.
That to me was like, it blew my mind.
And that's why the Fed, it's interesting because there's a lot of speculation the Fed will do its first cut in September.
Right.
That's where they're aiming
Micah
right now.
doesn't believe that.
I don't believe it either.
I said last week I'm not buying it.
I don't buy it for a second either, because the growth is still there. The growth has to slow a certain amount for them to be like, oh, we can't allow this to trickle. We gotta kick it a little bit. We gotta get a little air in those flames. We gotta get it going a little bit. It's not slowing to the rate where I think they need to tease it.
They
right
know
now.
that what will happen. The Fed comes out, headlines, Fed's dropping rates, quarter of a point, whatever. They know there's going to be a reaction to that.
Yep.
And the
It's gonna
reaction
heat
is going
it
to be
up.
like, hey, it's going to heat
up.
up. It's going to heat up car spending, credit card spending, mortgage.
Instant.
They're like,
why would we do that?
Why would we do that?
Yep.
Why?
But every article's reading because they want you to believe it. And you see what the stock market responds always.
Well, Wall Street always wants it.
Well,
right?
they love the speculation of things getting better for them, and they invest on that. Well, that's
cheap money gives more people to spend on the stock
I
market.
think Wall Street
right?
likes movement, right?
Yeah.
They just want.
They love
They don't
it.
care which way
Fluidity.
it goes.
Yeah.
They want movement.
I normally would agree with you guys. I'm usually on
Yeah.
your side normally,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And this time I actually think they might drop
might do it.
Just one. And the reason why, I think they're going to do it just to see what happens.
Oh, okay.
Because it's going to be a quarter. It isn't going to be something
Right.
dramatic. It's
Yeah.
going to be a
right
quarter.
before
And
the
then they're
election.
just going to
You think
wait.
right before an election.
I don't
I
think
heard-
that matters. That's my personal
Oh,
opinion.
they're supposed to be nonpartisan, no bias.
No,
but
I
I
know.
don't even think they touch it that close to an election because they don't even want to be involved in it.
Well, that could be true. And Jerome Powell has been, he's been very independent because he
Yep.
was there during the last administration and
They're
this
supposed to be
administration.
independent.
And he had pressure last time in 2018 when he was raising the rates in 2018, when we were just talking about a little earlier. He was getting a lot of grief from, from politicians
I'll tell
about
you what. If
raising the
you
rates.
watched,
Because they're like, hey, we're trying to paint this awesome picture. And if you
Mhm.
do that, we're going to all
Yep.
realize it's not awesome. We're out here ranting every day
Mhm.
about how great it is. If you do this, it's going to prove it's not. Don't do it.
there's some of the leaders out there are talking about fighting inflation and lowering these crazy high interest rates.
Right.
And when I hear that, I'm like, what?
You
Like,
don't
what world are
understand.
you guys living in?
You
What
understand.
world are you living in where you can't have both of those things?
Yeah.
You can't
Well,
have
I
both of
used to
those
believe
things.
that until I saw interest rates going up and prices keep going up and defying gravity.
Well,
So
but-
maybe this will be another defying gravity.
Well,
Who would have
Let's
thunk
reverse.
it kind of
Do
thing?
the opposite.
But
Do the
the
opposite.
one thing that is involved in there that you can never underestimate is the willingness to overspend by the American public.
Yeah.
And we have proven that
Yep.
time and time and time and time again.
It's like Cold Stone, right? Like it, love it, gotta have it.
Gotta have it.
Gotta have it.
Yeah, I'll spend all life.
Gotta have it.
Put it on a credit card.
So-
30% interest on a
So we got
credit
that going for us.
Yeah. So we're in a very interesting market. It'll be really interesting to see what happens. It's going to get a little crazier when we go through. I'm sorry. Hold on.
I want to know, like, so
Oh, I
we're
thought
seeing
this
we're
was
seeing
it.
a little bit of easing on interest rates right now, and I wonder if that's kind of like they're anticipating some movement from the Fed. And then what happens if the Fed doesn't do anything? What do our rates like scare back up? Like just a reaction, just bump back up a little bit? I could see that happening, right? Like oh,
they're
Fed-
worried. The
Fed-
Fed is worried, so we're going to tighten up.
It's just going to be a reaction to the Fed. Like
Yeah.
you're just saying, hey, things are getting good. Let's long term rates should be good. Remember when you're locking loans, there's always a hedge against like the lock date versus the close date, like when
Right.
you actually lock it in. And so there's anticipation of what's the market going to be in 30 days or 60 days, kind of built into the rate that's available today.
Sure.
So, I wish I had a formula for figuring out.
I wanted to tell you about the CBS thing again, because Tammy just chimed in on it, and I never heard of this before. She thinks it's concrete block and steel, which makes sense because you got to put the rebar in the cinder block and pour the cells.
Okay. All right.
So it might be concrete block and steel. I'm going to look it up now because now I'm curious.
I mean, I can look it up right now.
Yeah.
Do it.
So I think that it
Let's
might
get
be
an answer.
because of the rebar in, and that's the is the steel, the rebar going in there, right? I used to tie up a lot of rebar when I was a kid working construction sites.
Was that your
Broadcasting System.
nickname?
You have soft hands considering.
Back
you
in the
used to-
construction, they call you rebar.
Corey,
Hey,
no,
rebar,
no, it wasn't
rebar,
that,
go
no.
get me this.
No, they call me dumbass. That's what they call me. I didn't know what the hell I was doing.
Okay, my
It's
preferred AI says it is CBS construction stands for concrete block structure construction.
Okay.
Feels right.
So
It refers to a method of building where concrete blocks are used to form the structure's walls.
okay, Tammy, you just got Mike Roud. Or Mike
Boom.
goes on the
Boom.
internet and figures out what's really going on. You just got Mike Roud.
You got rebar.
But thanks for chiming in and thanks for listening to the show. Elaine,
And
thanks
he looked at 3 sources. He double verified and he binged and Googled. By
Yep.
the way.
and
I asked Jeeves.
Nice. Does that still exist?
Elaine, thanks for
I think it's just
checking
ask.
in. Elaine's a big fan of the show. Thank you for stopping by. Also, Lisa and Matt from Massachusetts. We helped sell their house in Raw Palm.
Oh yeah.
They're still listening once in a while. They're up there in Massachusetts. They have a really nice house up there.
Very cool.
Also, I wanted to give a shout out to Carl Tuesey.
Did you say a
I
shard
just
out?
said
What
it.
is that?
You get a
Shout out.
What's a
Did I say
shout
shard
out?
out? Oh my God.
Yikes.
No, I don't want to do a shard out.
Yikes.
No sharding. No sharding in the studio.
That's an Irish
Dump
shirt.
that. Dump that, Jimmy.
Carl and
Maggie.
Carl Maggie were sending me out a message last week just saying that they're doing great and they're working on their house. I'm like, send me photos,
Cool.
because they bought the house in Ireland.
Moved to Ireland.
So
It's
moved
a little bit of a move.
tiny, little tiny village. It's almost like a cartoon.
It's awesome.
Tammy just threw her husband under the bus, so it's his fault.
Yeah, it's not me. It's him.
Yeah, that's funny. And then also Mike A, thanks for coming back in. Glad to see you on the show again. So thank you so much. Let me see the other thing.
What else you got, Jim?
Yeah, hold on. Okay. Condo
Yeah,
crisis.
2 minutes, by the
Yeah,
way.
let's just go really quick. Condos. If you're thinking about buying a condo, you got to talk to us first before you buy the condo. There are 3 things you got to find out before you buy a condo in today's market, because we are going through a condo crisis like you could never believe. And you can get really burned if you don't understand what's going on with the condo that you're buying. If you are in a condo and you're having problems with your assessments, some of these homeowners are being assessed $80,000, $100,000. I saw one in Miami, $240,000 a unit for assessments. These people can't afford it, and it's really going to be very, very sad.
Does that buy the unit next door to yours?
Yeah,
What's
right.
going
It's like,
on?
what part of the rest of the building am I buying, right? But these communities are a lot of older people that were on fixed income or set incomes, and then they bought their thing and thought they were going to live there forever.
Even if they have no mortgage payment, their payment's going
And
up.
now they're getting socked with $80,000 to $240,000 in
I don't
assessments.
understand how you get a fixed income and lock into a condo and never think that any assessments are ever coming. Ever.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just insane to me.
It's there was a lot of people who were on the boards of these associations who kept these things artificially low.
Well, these
right?
are this is a self-created issue.
Somewhat.
It is.
Yeah.
Man, it is.
So we're
Easily
going through a major crisis on this. We're going to be talking about it more and more. And if you're in the condo market, there's great ways to make a lot of money in the condo market too. You can make money in the condo market. It's a good time to do that, but you have to be really savvy. So if you're interested in that, give me a call.
So
Love
the condo,
to talk to you about it.
Condo market always requires a special level of expertise,
Especially on the lending side.
It's a different beast,
lending too. 100%.
So you need pros when you're buying, selling, stuck with a home you don't know. You really do. You got to have good leadership and understanding of what you're doing, understanding of what the pitfalls can be. You have to have options, plan A, B, C, D. You really do. You should. And if you work with somebody that's really good at what they do, you're going to have all that, the safety nets. That condo market's another beast. And this condo market is a whole different beast. So heed those words for sure. If you're looking to get involved in the condo market one way or another, you got to have somebody that is great at what they do in your corner. A team would be best. Remember, FloridaTalkRealEstate.com. That's your one-stop real estate shop. The best of the best, I'm telling y'all, FloridaTalkRealEstate.com. Jimothy, got locker room coming up?
Sure do. Yeah, stick around. We'll
Beautiful.
talk some sports.
Love to hear that.
I wonder if they're going to talk a little bit about real estate when they come on the show.
I'm sure they will. Yeah, they always do. We'll be listening for sure. Mike Rao, the mortgage guy from the mortgage firm. I hope you have a great weekend.
Yeah, you too, brother. Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Always a pleasure. And Jimmy D, there's Jim DePola. It's the Florida Home Pros team. Keller Williams Innovations. I hope you have an excellent weekend. I know you got a bunch of videos coming
Yeah,
up.
going to run around all these properties, take videos, get these properties sold.
Beautiful thing, though.
Never sleep. Got to
That's-
get them sold.
It's a beautiful thing. You see that working 7 days a week for you people.
I'm going to the beach.
Working hard. Mike's like, not me. Not me.
I gotta go try and sell some real estate on the beach.
I'll do
Gotta
5.
Scope it out.
I'll do 5.5, maybe 6 days a week, but not 7. We're done with our portion of a Saturday. We'll be back at it next Saturday. 2 hours of infotainment, Florida Talk Real Estate style. Remember, FloridaTalkRealEstate.com. Know it, use it, love it, share it on Facebook and YouTube. Consume it all. We're back next Saturday. 2 hours of infotainment. It's Florida Talk Real Estate right here on Real Radio.